Mayor Pro Tem Mackey.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. We'll do the roll call, starting with City Councilmember Hernandez, District 1.
Present.
Councilmember Hill.
Present.
Councilmember Jordan.
Present.
Councilmember Simmons is under the weather, and she will not be attending tonight's meeting. Councilmember Oates.
Present.
Councilmember Ranker also is away. Mayor Pro Tem Mackey. Present. And Councilmember Mitchell.
Present.
We'll do the announcement and comments in the same order, starting with Councilmember Hernandez.
Hello, everyone. Happy June. Happy Pride Month. I just want to remind everyone that this month we take a moment to recognize that love exists in all shapes and sizes and forms, and that we here in the City of College Park provide a welcoming environment for all. We're going to be celebrating Pride on Friday with our city's Pride event, the Friday Night Live. I want to share, as the summer comes or I guess our sessions come to a close for at least about a month, that there's going to be schools that are graduating. I want to congratulate Hollywood Elementary School and the Monarch Preschool graduates and all the other high school students who made it to the end. This is a great opportunity to check out some of the city's reading programs that we are currently offering. You can find more information at the website or any social media that you may have. Finally, I want to just take a second to remind folks that if you are going out of town, there is an opportunity that is provided by our College Park Contract Police that they go and do a checkup on your property. All you have to do is register online with the Prince George's County Police Department. It's a good opportunity for folks to make sure to just keep an extra eye on your property. Separately, and I know that there's going to be a lot of opportunities over the summer, but if you're interested in helping out with some of the projects that we've got going on around the city, I know that I have some opportunities, but some other people may have some opportunities too to get involved, so please reach out. Talk to you guys soon.
Yes, hi. So this past Friday, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Mackey attended the City Employee Appreciation Lunch. It was a great turnout. It was great to see the hardworking employees of the city be recognized for the work they've done. And today I had an Institutional Biosafety Committee meeting for the University of Maryland, reviewing biological research at the university. And let's see, tomorrow will be the United States Green Building Commission workshop that the mayor and I will be attending at the University of Maryland.
Day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow, Thursday, right?
Yes.
Sorry. And then we have Friday Night Live this Friday, 6 to 8:30, right here at City Hall courtyard. And on Saturday we have the Trolley Trail Day, and that'll be fun. What is the time on the Trolley Trail Day?
I believe it's 8 o'clock.
Depending on the stops.
Depending on where the event is happening.
Yeah, it goes all kind of most of the day, and it ends
most of the day
at the College Park Airport Museum with a great performance. Usually it's great music and performances there. And then most of us will be headed out to the Maryland Municipal League Saturday, Sunday. And on Sunday, there will be a History Month event at the College Park Airport Museum as well, with ice cream. And let's see. Oh, on June 26th, there will be the Committees and Boards Appreciation Dinner at the hotel. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Lots going on. Thank you. Councilmember Jordan.
Yes, thank you. On Monday, I had the pleasure of attending with Mayor Kabir the celebration of the $3.1 million award to Attic Towers. Senators Van Hollen and Alsobrooks and Representative Ivey and State Senator Rosapev all presented a check to them. It was a wonderful ceremony and just a great time to be able to celebrate this. Director Michelle Johnson was instrumental in the effort, and it will bring much-needed repairs to the Attic Towers building and be a great help to the residents there. It houses low-income seniors and residents with disabilities. I was able to stop by the BDCA planting event where they planted 500 plants donated for the permaculture garden. I did see that the Board of Education has announced they will have a continuation of the Chinese immersion program across all of Prince George's County, including Paint Branch Elementary School in District 2. Yes. Very much so, yes. On a lighter note, this weekend, the Boy Scout troop that meets in District 2 will be walking to their summer camp. It is 208 miles over 14 days that they will be walking, just starting at Holy Redeemer in District 2. There are 2 meetings that may be of interest to District 2 residents and throughout the city in College Park. On June 24th, the State Highway Association is having a meeting with residents to discuss the development and improvements on Baltimore Avenue between 193 and Sunnyside Avenue. And then on June 25th, Thursday at 6:45 p.m., the Metropolitan will be hosting a resident engagement time. The city was gracious enough to to provide a meeting space for this. It'll be at Davis Hall, and that will have a hybrid option. And then finally, the city has put together a walking tour and survey for community members to give feedback for a space in Berwyn, but the 8807 and 8811 Rhode Island Avenue property that the city owns. It's a community space exploration walk, and it's designed to be like there's a survey that you can take that you can give feedback about what you would like to see in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I had the honor and the privilege to attend, or rather represent College Park at the U.S. Mayor's Conference last week. And it was a wonderful opportunity to connect with quite a few mayors I already know and to connect with the new mayors. And it's a wonderful opportunity of networking and lots of learning in different sessions. I also had the opportunity to attend yesterday morning with Councilor Jordan at the Attic Towers, and this is such a huge deal for College Park because Attic Towers in College Park, the senior housing, they received $3.15 million. It's a lot of money for much needed repair at the Attic Towers, and they brought a big check. But it is very wonderful event, and I'm sure this will benefit the community at the Attic Towers. And I will be at the MML conference, and day after tomorrow, as Councilmember Hill mentioned, I will also have the honor to welcome the participants at the U.S. Green Building. Is it coalition or? USGBC, their very first symposium in College Park. It will be on River Road. I believe it's called Physics Building. And there will be close to 100 people attending, talking about different sustainability initiatives. So this is such an honor for College Park because this is being hosted in College Park for the very first time. That's all I have. Thank you. Councilmember Oates.
Thanks. I won't repeat some of the things, but we'll look forward to seeing folks at Friday Night Live and Trolley Trail Day. I will note that it's summer, and so wanted to remind people that you can get 30% off outdoor pool memberships as part of RecWell for the UMD pool. So encourage people to avail themselves of that. And then also, just to flag, the National Orchestral Institute is ongoing at the Clarice, and so there's lots of performances folks may wish to join. Thanks.
Thank you for mentioning that. Appreciate it. Mayor Pro Tem Mackey.
Yes, thank you. I won't repeat either. But I wanted to just thank the West College Park Neighborhood Watch for doing an ice cream social. That was a lot of fun on Saturday. I want to also encourage people to take advantage of the GoGov app, which is College Park Connect, because on there you can sign up to get all kinds of alerts and bulletins about what's going on in the city. Because like my colleagues have said, several of us are going to be out at MML, which is we will be out of town, so the app will be something that you'll need to be using. I also wanted to just encourage people to take advantage of the free parking that's available over the summer, and to make sure that you're just looking out for, in this extreme heat, to stay hydrated, and looking out for young people and older people, making sure that you look in on neighbors that might have might be senior citizens or have a lot of young children, just to make sure that we are mindful of our neighbors during the hot summer months. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilor Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's that time. It is coming. It's here in a couple of days. Early voting. It is your time to exercise your right to vote. Early voting will begin on June 11th through 18th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and you can go to the College Park Community Center, or you still have time to submit your replacement ballot, the ballot that says replacement on there, in the box. Don't laugh, Mr. Mayor.
I got one.
I did too. To exercise your right to vote. So I wanted to acknowledge that. For a second, I want to acknowledge that people having problems with their water bill or utility bills, you can call 211. 211 is the main number that warehouses customer service, where you can ask questions about either your WSSC bill, your Pepco bill, any utility bill. You can go there and they can provide you assistance with that. Also, I don't have all the information, but there is an AI technology workshop for adults that's being hosted by University of Maryland College of Information. I will need to get more information in regards to the time, and I will pass along the flyer to the city staff so they can post that to the website, hopefully. And for single fathers, we know Father's Day is coming up. There's a Single Fathers Awareness Care Day for you, which will be held on June 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., and the location will be at the Mixed Food Hall, which is 3809 Rhode Island Avenue in Brentwood, Maryland. Also, there is a job fair on June 17th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, being hosted by the Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition at the Second Baptist Church at 5501 Silver Hill Road in District Heights, Maryland. And I will leave this with the staff also to publicize and put information on the website. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. This coming Wednesday, there is a senior activity at the College Park Woods Clubhouse from 1 to 3, which is game time. It's loads of fun, and I hope that lots of seniors come out and participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's
I'm
go to
sorry, Mr. Mayor. I did want to add something. It's senioritis day to day. It's really senior. But just to echo my comments of my colleagues, that most of us, 3/4 of us, will be out next week attending the Maryland Municipal League Conference. And just want residents to know, it's not an opportunity just to fellowship, but an opportunity to learn different information about affordable housing or anything to that nature that we are working on in regards to our strategic plan. And we look forward to bringing back a comprehensive report from all of us when we get
Certainly.
back. Thank you.
College Park will be in force. Thank you. All right, let's go to our student liaison, starting with student liaison, Ms. Martin.
Hi, so we've been meeting with the council members. We're trying to meet with everyone, Sammy and I, to discuss our initiatives and then how we can help you guys with your own initiatives. And then I recently applied for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, so I'm excited to maybe do some work with that. And then we're also restructuring the Student Liaison Advisory Committee, and we're working on getting that fully ready for when the semester starts in the fall.
Fantastic. Let's go to Mr. Said.
Yeah, just, building on that, we're kind of creating our priorities for the year. Really excited to work with you all in those, and just building a really strong student advisory council as well is important because it's going to allow us to connect student voices with all of you. So if there's ever an issue you guys want student voice on, we're going to have a very, very active council who's going to be able to immediately provide input. So that's kind of the structure we're formatting it around. But, just really looking forward to building initiatives and working with you all to do that.
Certainly. Thank you. Let's go to our city manager's report. Mr. Young.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, residents of College Park. Just a couple of quick announcements. One, we'll be having some roadway patching work done this week. Our contractors will begin roadway patching in College Park Woods and the Hollywood area to fix the deteriorating asphalt at the following locations: 3706 Marlboro Way, 3735 Marlboro Way, the 4900 block of Indian Lane between 49th Avenue and Rhode Island Avenue, Hollywood Road and 51st Place intersection, and we also will have the 9700 block of Narragansett Parkway on the west roadway section, and then we also will have the 4900 block of Nantucket Road. So we'll be having parking restrictions posted where necessary, and just ask people to use caution in those work zones and adhere to posted parking restrictions. We also have College Park, the Friday Night Live, our encore event, this Friday from 6 to 8:30 p.m. In our City Hall Plaza. The entertainment is the Dead Flowers. I just had to make sure I was reading that right. And free parking will be available in our parking garage. We also will have begun our planning for College Park Day. Believe it or not, we're already working for that. That's coming up in October. Right now, we're officially have open our food vendor applications, and we're encouraging people to apply for that. This year's event will be on Saturday, October the 3rd. It'll be from 12 to 6 p.m. at the College Park Aviation Museum and Airport. Usually we get about 12,000 visitors over those course of those hours. So we would encourage anybody interested in being a vendor. The applications are due by June 30th. We only pick about 15 to 20 vendors, so it's very limited. But we also look for a very wide diversity of food offerings for attendees. To apply, you just need to go to www.collegeparkmd.gov/CPD food vendor. You can also go to our website and you can see where you can apply there. So the applicants will be notified by July 15th of whether or not they were selected for our event. And then there's a $100 registration that's due upon approval. Lastly, I just wanted to say thank you to Prince George's Fire Chief. I'm going to butcher her last name, Michaelates, and Deputy Chief Harris and their staff, as well as Council Member Eric Olson, for a meeting that we held today. They kind of gave our staff briefing on some of the changes that are upcoming for the College Park Station. I've sent to each of you in your email internal memo that kind of outlines what those changes are. Basically, it will remove a unit, an advanced life support unit, out of the College Park location after 3 p.m. So Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends. It's a little different, not the ideal kind of model for us, but I think we're going to try and work with the university. I've already had discussions with Ms. Claros from the university, and also talked a little bit with Councilmember Olson today. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you. Thank you for the update. Any question for Mr. Young? Seeing none, let's do acknowledge. Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Hernandez had his hand up.
Very late, sir. I apologize. Mr. City Manager, the only question that I have is, you said that they would be responded to by July 15th, whether they did or didn't get accepted, right? The vendors? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we can communicate that back. Thank you.
That's correct. July 15th is our notification. We'll start reviewing applications, obviously, on July 1. So
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Let's do the acknowledgement. We have two former elected officials in the meeting. One is in the room, a former District 2 Council Member Bob Catlin. Thank you, Mr. Catlin, for joining. And also we have former District 3 City Councilor John Rake also joined online. Thank you, Mr. Rake, for joining. Oh, Mr. Schroeder, where did I miss? Former District 1 City Councilor Mark Schroeder also has joined. And Ms. College Park is with us as well. Thank you for coming. All right, let's do the proclamation and awards. We have 4 of them, and let me read them, and they're fairly short. The first one is about Juneteenth, and it reads as follows. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation declared the freedom of enslaved people in Confederate territory and helped pave the way for the abolition of slavery in the United States. And whereas on June 19, 1865, news of emancipation reached enslaved African Americans in Texas, giving rise to the observance now known as Juneteenth. And whereas Juneteenth commemorates freedom, resilience, and the contributions of African Americans, while providing an opportunity to reflect on our nation's history and the ongoing pursuit of equality and justice. And whereas the City of College Park joins communities across the nation in recognizing the significance and legacy of Juneteenth. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park, Maryland, that June 19, 2026 is hereby recognized as Juneteenth in the City of College Park, and that all residents are encouraged to reflect upon our nation's history and the continued pursuit of liberty, justice, and equality for all. Proclaimed this 9th day of June 2026, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. I will read the one on Tourette at the very end, and you will find out why I will be doing it. I'll then read the proclamations on the Pollinator Week, which is June 22nd to June 28th, 2026, and it reads as follows. Whereas pollinators such as bees, butterflies, birds, bats, and other animals play a vital role in reproduction of flowering plants, supporting healthy ecosystems, biodiversity, and food production. And whereas pollinators contribute to the production of approximately 1/3 of the food consumed worldwide and are essential to maintaining healthy agricultural and natural environments. And whereas pollinator populations face increasing threats from habitat loss, pesticide use, climate change, and other environmental pressures. And whereas the City of College Park is committed to environmental stewardships and to supporting efforts that protect pollinators and their habitats. Now therefore be proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park that June 22nd to 28th, 2026 is hereby recognized as Pollinator Week in the City of College Park, and residents are encouraged to support pollinator-friendly practices that help sustain healthy ecosystems, strengthen food systems, and enhance the quality of life in our community. Proclaimed this 9th day of June 2026, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. And the third one is about the 250th anniversary of American independence. And it reads as follows. Whereas on July 4th, 1776, the 13 American colonies adopted the United States Declaration of Independence, proclaiming the principles of liberty, equality, self-government, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas on July 4th, 2026, the United States will commemorate the 250th anniversary of its founding, known as America's semi-quincentennial. marking 2.5 centuries of democratic governance, civic participation, resilience, and progress. And whereas Independence Day provides an opportunity to honor the generations of military service members, public servants, community leaders, and citizens whose efforts have helped preserve and strengthen the ideals upon which this nation was founded. And whereas the City of College Park joins communities across the nation in recognizing the significance of this historic milestone and encouraging residents to reflect on our nation's history and the enduring principles that unite us. Now therefore be proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park that July 4th, 2026 is hereby recognized as Independence Day and the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, and all residents are encouraged to commemorate this historic milestone and renew their commitment to the ideals of liberty, equality, and self-government. Proclaimed this 9th day of June 2026, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. And the fourth and final one is about the Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month, and it reads as follows. Whereas Tourette syndrome, or TS in short, is a neurological disorder characterized by involuntary movements and vocalizations known as tics, affecting individuals of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas Tourette syndrome and other tic disorders can impact daily life and are often misunderstood, leading to stigma and barriers to inclusion, and whereas increased awareness, education, and understanding help foster acceptance and support for individuals and families affected by Tourette syndrome. And whereas individuals living with Tourette syndrome make valuable contributions to their schools, workplaces, communities, and civic life. And whereas organizations such as Tourette Association of America promote research, education advocacy, and support for those affected by Tourette syndrome. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park that the month of May is hereby recognized as Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month in the City of College Park, and all residents are encouraged to learn more about Tourette syndrome, support those affected by condition, and help create a more inclusive and understanding community for all. Proclaimed this 9th day of June 2026, Fazil Kabir, Mayor, City of College Park. So what I'm going to do, this is a proclamation that was requested by our Miss College Park, and thank you for asking us to do it. So I'm going to go to the podium and give the proclamation to her. I hope that is okay with the council. And probably, I think it'd be fitting if we all can take a group photo with Miss College Park. Thank you. So let's give it to you first. And then yeah, you can take photos. Thank you. The council, please come forward and we can take the photo.
Perfect, thank you. Show you what the seal. Oh.
Yeah. Thank you. We can. All right, that was wonderful. So let's do our next order of business, which is about public comments. So if you have been patiently waiting to make public comments, this is your time. If you have joined online, please raise your virtual hands and we will allow you to speak. Thank you, Mr. Dorsch. And if you follow our new rules of council's rules and procedure, you can talk about anything under the sun.
Anything under the
anything,
sun? Anything?
The only condition is you only have 3 minutes, no more than
3
3
minutes.
And you need to be respectful.
Right. My name is Dave Dorsch, and I'm here for over half a century in the city of College Park. One of the things that I wanted to find out is, did you guys sell that house at 4704 Calvert Road yet? If not, why not? The city does not need to be in the housing business. The other thing I've noticed is that we've started putting these cameras on the stop signs. Now, supposedly this was for a public purpose, but the purpose is, it seems to be just gouging money out of people, that the wheel doesn't come to 100% complete stop, even though it might just be turning a quarter of the way. Nope, fines. And I don't think that's really justified, because unless you've had a lot of accidents at one of these intersections, I don't think this is justified. The only people that make anything out of this are the company that supplies it and the city, because both of them get the money. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's allow, unless someone, okay. Councilmember Catlin, former councilmember, please come forward. For the record, please state your name and if you're a resident.
Yes, thank you. I'm Bob Catlin, College Park resident since the late 80s. Also, I'm currently the vice chair of the College Park Housing Authority, so I'd like to thank the mayor and Councilwoman Jordan for attending the ceremony yesterday honoring the award of $3.15 million to Attic Towers for much-needed renovations. That helps. We've got money from a couple other people, the state and from the city, in the past couple of years, so that contributes a lot to the funds that we have to make these renovations. We're not all the way there yet, but I think we will be in the near future. A few weeks ago, you started talking about the Boulevard project, which was the resurrection of a detailed site plan for an apartment project at Cherokee Street. It's had 3 DSPs approved since the early 2000s. And the one now apparently is resurrecting the last one that was approved about 2013. So it gave me a topic, because we've had other DSPs approved in the city over the last 30 years where the projects never got built either. So I can't talk about all of them in the next minute and a half, but I could probably take 2 sessions to give you just a quick rundown on what happened. About 30 years ago, there was a McDonald's next to the Vigilante Coffee. And it got approved to put another McDonald's behind that one, and that never got built because McDonald's bought the property across the street where the McDonald's is currently, and they resurrected that as the McDonald's. We had 2 other fast food projects approved with DSPs on Route 1 in that area, a Wendy's and one I can't recall, and they were approved by the planning board, and they never got built. But they were not built for the same reason that the first project at the Metropolitan wasn't built. The county councilman for the district rejected the planning board's approval. That was something they could do way back then. They could change the approval or they could reject the approval. So the city opposed both of those fast food projects, and fortunately we got them rejected by the district council. So those are 2 things that happened that were really important. College Park would look a lot different today if we had 2 more fast food restaurants across from Lakeland and Berwyn. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service to the Housing Authority. Appreciate that. Seeing none in the room, let's go to virtual, and let's start with former Councilmember John Rake. Can staff allow Mr. Rake to speak? I don't have that privilege.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Rake. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the council for permitting me to speak this evening. I'm coming to you with a matter of substantial importance and also of time sensitivity. I was notified last week through colleagues well, for those of you who don't know me, I've worked for the last 25 years as a paramedic. A paramedic is an emergency medical services provider with the highest level of training. We can provide certain surgical interventions, administer medications, and defibrillate or change the heart rate or rhythm of many different heart rates that will otherwise kill somebody. We're also extremely helpful in the event of a massive trauma and are considered sort of the top of the profession in terms of emergency medical services that are provided by calling 911. Our only paramedic unit in the city of College Park is Medic 812, which sits at the Company 12 fire station in Lakeland, right there that you all are familiar with across the street, basically from City Hall, just downstreet from City Hall. Early last week, I was notified by a colleague of mine who is a Prince George's County firefighter that the county is proposing to pull the only paramedic unit in the city of College Park out of the city of College Park, except for the hours of 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. This will leave an enormous gap in service in the city of College Park. We will have to be served by other outlying organizations for paramedic service. They would have to come from Adelphi or from Greenbelt. And Company 812, Paramedic 812, is the only medic service between Beltsville and the DC line. It will leave an enormous gap, not just for the city of College Park, but also as a primary paramedic service for the cities of Hyattsville, the city of Riverdale Park, and others up and down the Route 1 corridor. My understanding is that the county is proceeding very quickly with implementation of this change, which will have an extremely negative impact on our own emergency response in the city of College Park. I believe that they intend to implement it on the first day of the new fiscal year, which is July 1. I would urge the city of College Park to speak strongly out against this. I have had conversations with the university and with other concerned residents, but it's happening so quickly, it seems as though the county is going to try to pull a fast one and do this as quickly as possible, and then try to make us fight to get it back. I would urge you to draft a letter tonight in strong opposition to making this change and protect the residents of the city of College Park. As I've listened to all of you make your announcements tonight, I'm reminded of the many residents in our city who are vulnerable to having an emergency who might require the services of a paramedic, the prompt services of a paramedic. College Park Day is a great example. Attic Towers is a primary user of advanced life support services in our city. Both of those, just as small examples, would be much more poorly served if that medic unit were removed from the city of College Park. So on behalf of our city and our 35,000 residents, I would urge the city council to draft a letter to the county instructing them to keep advanced life support services in the city of College Park. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your advocacy, and we will consider sending a letter today as well. Thank you. It's coming. All right, let's go to the next speaker, Jay Herrera. Could you please unmute yourself, and for the record, please state your name and if you're a resident of College Park.
My name is Juan Herrera, and I am a resident of College Park. Are you able to hear me?
You can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. I initially wasn't going to say anything, but Councilmember Hernandez brought something up, so I want to speak to that. Back in May, I went on vacation, and I did fill out that premise check form online. I did not receive anything from the city or the county saying that my form had been received, that it had been approved, or that it had been forwarded. It was just utter silence since I completed the form. And like I've said in prior meetings, even my neighbors, they told me that they didn't see any police presence during that time that I was on vacation. My Ring cameras also didn't catch anybody that, they caught other people, but they didn't catch any police like pull up to my house, kind of look around, or it was just regular people, regular neighbors that I would see on the Ring cameras. Never saw a police officer, never saw a police car stop in front of my house. And according to my neighbors, also, they never saw no police. So I just wanted to bring that up. You know, I'm not sure if you even do get a response when you complete the form or not. That was all.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage you to be in touch with our staff, and they can probably find out what happened, and certainly we are here to serve you and make things better. Thank you.
May I make a suggestion that
Mr. Mayor, may I make a suggestion that Mr. Herrera send an email so that we can follow up with the details with our contract police? So that, because, I mean, it's just like a prudent step of us. I know that we're not supposed to respond, but
Yeah, certainly, exactly.
I'm just making the recommendation.
Yeah, please reach out to staff, and certainly we can find out more from our side. Certainly.
Just via email, Mr. Herrera. I just think it's important for us to be able to follow up through our liaising with the Director of Public Services.
Certainly. Thank you. All right, seeing none, let's go to the next order of business, and which is amendments to and approval of the agenda. Councilmember Oates. Councilmember Hernandez, who is going to do it?
You want to do it? Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Oates.
Sure. Wanted to thank former Councilmember Rigg for his attention to the issue, and again, appreciate staff and had a meeting earlier today regarding this issue with the Prince George's County Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services. I think knowing that this is coming up quickly, I would like to propose to add to our consent agenda to ask staff to send a letter conveying the strong view of our city council that College Park continue to have advanced life support in College Park. Happy to have any discussion of other things that folks would like added.
Thank you. I think it's pretty clear. I don't think there is a discussion.
So for
Councilor Hernandez,
I'll second, but just to add a comment, I mean, I hope that this is just like the letter's the first step, and that we include our legislative officials, county officials, and other impacted municipalities for awareness. I think it's an important step, but we also have a county lobbyist, don't we? This time around, we're going to ask them for some help to make sure that they're advocating. I mean, 'cause we're going to go into like a big hiatus throughout the month. So,
maybe
so, Mr. Young, do you have any comments?
I think that would be appropriate. I think we'd add University of Maryland as well. Along with that. But yes, we can. L.A. Perez and Associates will also involve them as well.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Oates.
Just suggest that, as opposed to the focus being on the letter, I think it's, that's a part of this, but trying to convey it on behalf of council, although it is on the proposed for the consent agenda, that, the policy of the council and the mayor of council is that, we want this. So if there's other advocacy that's needed, I think that can be at staff discretion.
Thank you. All right, Councilor Hernandez, further comment?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. If possible, if the letter could request the data and analysis demonstrating the need to do this pilot. I understand that we've asked in the past for Prince George's County Fire and EMS to provide data, but we need to be able to tell the residents what the impact is going to, like how it's going to affect them. I'd also ask for them to encourage the county fire to engage residents and other stakeholders. It feels like this is just like a quick letter that was sent on, I see June 5th for action on June 29th. I'm sure that there's a lot of different things that go on and that this is a well-meaning effort by our partners at the county, but we want to express our deep concern.
Certainly. So I think there is an agreement and there is a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye on this amendment.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? So this motion, this item has been added to the agenda. Is there any other amendment? Seeing none, I entertain a motion right now.
I move to accept the agenda the way it was amended.
All in, so who is second? Seconded by Councilor Hernandez. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstention? The agenda has been approved. So now we have two consent agenda items.
Mr. Mayor, what is the item number for the letter?
It should be 26G59. Am I correct, Madam Clerk? Okay. 26G59. So there are two consent agenda. Let me read them first, and then I will entertain a motion. The first one is 26G58, which is the approval of the March 3rd, 2026 Mayor and Council minutes. And the second, which just has been added, is 26G59, is a letter to Prince George's Fire Department and other entities as expressed during the council comments about expressing concerns about the discontinuation or lack of services of the advanced life support services in College Park, otherwise called ALS, and staff will take from there. I entertain a motion at this point.
Move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Council member, moved by Mayor Pro Tem Mackey and seconded by Council member Oates. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstention? The consent agenda has been approved. All right, now we go to actually quite a few presentations we have. We'll start with 4 of them. We'll start with the first one, which is where the discussion of the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, BPAC, regarding their annual work plan. And this will be kicked off by our grants coordinator, Mr. Rafi. And thank you, the members of the BPAC, for your service to the community. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Rafi, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm joined here by Chair Schroeder and by committee member Sean. Today will be a brief presentation just to discuss a committee overview, what we do as a committee. Then I'll pass it over to Mark to discuss some of the committee priorities over the past, mentioned over the past 6 months or so. And then we'll conclude with a Q&A session. For some background, the committee was formed in 2023. It functions as an advisory committee with a focus on assisting in the preparation of a city-wide bikeway master plan and assisting in conducting evaluation and assessments of bike and walkability equity in the city. To date, the committee has developed an annual plan, which is a document that's a high-level strategic document that collects our recommendations, and it will be a form of a foundation for either a bikeway master plan or any similar plan that the city will put out eventually. Some things we've completed or are working on are we've received a bike-friendly community designation, bronze designation. We've advocated for the ordinance on enforcing bike lane obstructions in the past year. The committee has assisted staff in applying for and positioning ourselves for Safe Streets and Roads for All, which is a federal grant program to establish a comprehensive safety action plan. That's to eliminate roadway fatalities and serious injuries for all modes of transportation. And the committee has assisted staff in bicycle and pedestrian impact statements, which make recommendations for infrastructure and facilities within a half mile of new development. The committee is also involved in community outreach. That includes Bike to Work Day, College Park Day, Hollywood Farmers Market, conducting community surveys and audits with other committees as well. And some of the outputs include assisting development of citywide safety action plan, which is forthcoming in the next few months. We'll be working on that. Informing city policies and planning, similarly to what we helped with the bike lane obstruction ordinance, and just continuing community engagement and expanding on those measures. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mark now.
Mr. Schroeder, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. First, I would like to address what I take to have been a complaint when we were asked to present, and the complaint was that the bike plan was vastly greater than any possible activity we could accomplish in the coming year. That's true. I take responsibility for it. The reason it is such a wide-ranging plan is that, to a large extent, we don't control our priorities. Our priorities come from you, and your priorities tend to change. We are advisory. We tend not to want to spend a lot of time advising you about things that you don't want advice about. And since the things you want advice about tend to change, we wanted to make ourselves available to give you advice about whatever that might happen to be. And so that's why it's all over the map there. Now, in preparation for this presentation, I went to BPAC and proposed certain priorities based on what you have been doing and what you have been asking for from us, or what we thought you were asking for from us. Number one, our first priority is your Complete Streets program. And to remind you, what is the plan for Complete Streets in FY27? That would be 48th Place, possibly Dartmouth. There's an indication here that it's on hold for some reason. Bodwin, also a possibility that it's on hold. Wellesley, Branchville Road, and in FY28, the indications are Dartmouth, Bowdoin, 51st Avenue Phase 2, and St. Andrews Place. The second priority we had, based on your preliminary budget, which turned out this item turned out not to get into your final budget, was for bike racks. That was a potentially very interesting program, but since it isn't currently funded, it may not be our second priority. The third item, I'm going to combine these two because although they're somewhat different, they're both tend to be very cheap projects. BPIS, Bicycle Pedestrian Impact Statements, those are private development will have impacts on cyclists and pedestrians, but we can't ask for $1 million for impact mitigation. They tends to be less than $100,000, so those will be fairly cheap projects. Safe Streets for All, similarly, those will be demonstration projects, which means that you can't spend the money on anything that will be a permanent change to the street grid. So those will be like temporary barriers. Our fourth priority is connectivity, and here we're getting into some fairly deep waters, but many neighborhoods in the city were built without any thought that the people who live there might have to leave there by foot or bicycle. I will go through a couple of examples, and at the end of what I have to say, Shelby Bird will have some comments about College Park Woods. So I was on the council when we approved the IKEA project with the associated apartments and townhouses. We were giving no thought to anything except that project was going to be built regardless. We were giving no thought to anything except getting the tax revenue. It was clear that if we wanted to have an exit out of there that would serve cyclists and pedestrians, not Route 1, that it would just kill the project if we got it, but we weren't going to get it. The project was going to go ahead anyway. What we have is you can't get in there and out of there by bicycle or foot if you're going from the city or to the city. That's unsafe. Second, we have Crystal Springs. Crystal Springs, the only way in and out that's legal is Metzerat Road. If you want to get to the university from there by foot, I wouldn't suggest doing this by bicycle. You will walk over a wooded, grassy area to 193. Walk on the shoulder of 193 until you get to a red light to cross there. Metzerat Road is not appropriate for bikes or pedestrians. And there are any number of other ways in which we have created bottlenecks, lack of connectivity, and therefore lack of safe egress. our fifth priority, and this one, I abstained on this one because I didn't think you wanted any advice about it, is lowering the speed limit to 20 miles per hour in the city. My fellow committee members would like to point out to you that that if you set a 20 mile per hour speed limit, it's really only enforceable above 40 miles an hour. So if you set it at 25 miles an hour, it's only really enforceable at 45. And if a car hits a pedestrian at 45 miles an hour, the pedestrian is probably going to die. That's what they would like to tell you. Number 6, we want to work with the city on improving certain important corridors in the city. Obviously, Rhode Island Avenue, Duke Street, St. Andrews Place, Edgewood 49th, Greenbelt in Rhode Island, Campus Drive at Route 1, and the Metzrat Road crossings. And if Shelby has a word to say.
Sure. Thank you so much. Shelby Bird, District 4 and College Park Woods resident. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mr. Rafi, for your leadership as well. And just to add on how important connectivity is in building community. In College Park Woods, we have several amenities that have been invested in by the city, as well as by the county and the Park Commission, and they are very difficult to get to without a car. And so as part of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, we want to emphasize that being able to reach elementary schools by foot, perhaps such as Cherokee Lane, would be possible if it were safe to walk to where those paths are. At this time, we have many parents who choose to drive their students down to the park entrance, very close to my residence on 9116 St. Andrews Place. And they choose to do that not just in bad weather, but in all times because it is the safest way to transport their children. Similarly, my daughter attends Robert Goddard Montessori School. Her bus stop is at the top of our neighborhood, St. Andrews and Duke. And she is a very quick 5-year-old, but I would not trust her to be able to walk up there by herself, nor would I feel safe walking her, even holding hands, as surprisingly how fast individuals are able to drive between 2 stop signs in front of my house that are 0.1 miles apart with a speed hump at each stop sign. And folks are still able to reach speeds that would be catastrophic if they were to hit a pedestrian. And so we certainly appreciate the continuous investment and research that it takes to make the best decisions for our community to make everybody safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rafi, please.
Yeah, we'll just turn it over to questions at this point if there are any.
Okay. So there have been quite a few ideas and suggestions from BPAC, and thank you for sharing those ideas. Let's hear from the council. Start with Councilor Hernandez.
Hey, thanks for the very thorough report and the strategic nature of it. It was really, well, you can tell a former council member is leading the charge there. I've had the opportunity to join some of the BPAC meetings, and they are run like a well-oiled machine. I want to make a suggestion / recommendation to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. The Route 1 developments that are coming up, I mean, we need all hands on deck in order to make sure that like proper bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure is in place. So, I mean, that means comments, that means showing up to the meetings, that means writing letters. It's going to be super important because I've heard or the suggestion that it might not necessarily be suitable for bicycle like infrastructure north of Maryland 193. So as the most organized I've ever seen a committee to lobby and advocate, I'd really, really appreciate seeing some of those recommendations being pushed, mostly in a way that can be executable, right? there's going to be a lot of folks that talk, but I mean, if people show up and they're organized, I think we're going to see some successful recommendations. One of the things I didn't have the opportunity to, I guess, really get into, or see, Edgewood itself is, so Edgewood, which sits in District 1 in North College Park, for those who are unaware, at some point was going to be redone. I'm wondering or curious what recommendations BPAC has in place ready for that development. I know that we've seen recommendations prior to, or I've seen them from Mr. Hayes, I want to believe, during one of his presentations. Do you have any predictions on how you guys hope to work with the city engineer?
So Steve Halperin told us that his plan, which of course is subject to your approval, when Edgewood next needs repaving, is to install a bike lane on the north end of it from Route 1 to Rhode Island. That would have two effects. First of all, it would protect bikers in the bike lane in that stretch. And second, it would it would narrow the street, which would force slower traffic, which would tend to protect both the children walking to Hollywood Elementary and the children walking to the bus stop that's right near Hollywood Elementary. So we thought that was a good plan, and we are therefore waiting for Edgewood to get torn up.
I'm hopeful that when we do that, we preserve some aspect of the parking. I know a lot of the residents have raised concerns about the limited parking that's on Edgewood. So, I mean, we're going to need to work together. And secondly, I know that the North College Park Community Association sent over a letter requesting the extension of the trolley trail. We can get into the historic elements of where the trolley was or where the trolley was not, but I believe that you all have been connected with Megan and their team in order to try to look at what it would look like to expand north of, I want to say it's, I guess, north of Maryland 193, and possibly connecting to the county's recently developed large sidewalk just north of Odessa, heading up towards Sunnyside. I'd like for there to be some strategic consideration here, given the fact that many of our projects that are forward-facing, including the annexation efforts, may connect back into that if we are successful. So,
I believe it would be very helpful if the city engineer received a message from the council that they would like him to do a walking tour and indicate which there are at least 3 ways that you can extend the trolley trail for pedestrians. One is with the current substandard sidewalk on the west side, on the Western Service Road. One is by putting a sidewalk which does not currently exist on the Eastern Service Road. And the third is probably the most expensive alternative, putting a sidewalk directly next to the bike lanes that you've already got there. Now, I think it is not useful to not have some expert opinions about whether one of those alternatives is cost prohibitive or not. So, in my view, we need to have an idea about what's feasible.
Thank you. Yes, for those who don't know or who aren't regularly up in this area, there tends to be a lot of residents who use the bicycle lane as a walking lane. I mean, it is an active road, Rhode Island Avenue. And these are, temporary bollards that won't necessarily do much to stop any sort of car should something happen. It's more of a reminder, if anything. What I'd like to make sure that we're all working together, right, on is what that looks like in the future. Happy to have a larger conversation on council. I don't know if you're aware, but council was proud to include in this year's budget a traffic study that's going to look at what potential outlets, I guess like egress spots, will be best for cars to come out of the service roads. Right now, what's happening is people are rushing right out of them to try to get onto Rhode Island Service Road, potentially putting a lot of people in danger and also just causing extreme backup and delays. And with Duval Field coming on board, we're going to see a lot more traffic. So hopefully we can tie all of these multiple efforts together in order to be able to move forward successfully. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Councilmember Mitchell and then Councilmember Oates.
Thank
you.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your report. I appreciate your due diligence and intentionality. One thing I know we just have we will have the opportunity to nominate Ms. Martin to be a part of the BPAC committee, and one of the things that we talked about with her, was the fact that looking at the university's transportation plan and trying to incorporate that into our plan as well, moving forward to help us with bicycle safety as well as those who are pedestrians. Also, I just wanted to ask, in regards to your plan, it's my hope that we will have more opportunities for engagement with the community, going out to the community and talk about what you do as a committee and what your recommendations are. I think what comes as a little bit of a, how can I say the word, heartburn for some individuals because they don't know what you're actually are doing as a committee and what you're trying to achieve. So I hope we can have more conversations, especially in the District 4 area, in regards to what the committee is actually doing. And the third point is Crystal Springs, yes, there needs to be some type of help with Crystal Springs. As long as myself and Mayor Pro Tem Mackey live there, that has been a sticking point with us and a really public safety concern because, as you know, ambulance can get down there, no one can get out if there was an emergency. So if anything can be done, I know the city has put in for plans with parking planning to do. I know Mr. Young's doing something with regard to 35th Avenue, but that is huge. My last point is we would like to think about possibility. Some residents have asked about lowering the speed because we know that's a problem. But also along Metzerock Road, we know there's a potential development with the county. Many residents are not aware about that in the sidewalk and how that will impact Metzerock going into St. Andrews and along that Duke corridor. So what can be done in order to, number one, bring that report back and bring out the actual essential components so residents are made aware, especially on Metzerock Road, because many of them do not know there's a potentiality of a sidewalk coming and they're going to be caught off guard by how we can work with the county and your committee can work together to get the communication, but also to see the feasibility of other safety measures.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mitchell. I will ask in return that there be a second appointment to BPAC from District 4. Mm-hmm. You have a vacant seat here. We appreciate very much Shelby being with us. Otherwise, District 4 would not be represented. District 3 is not currently represented. District 2 is not currently represented. We need to have those vacancies filled because I know as a former council member, I know you want to be hearing from a committee of your constituents.
And we are definitely going to be looking for someone else to be on that committee. But again, this is important for all of us, especially as we start to talk about our strategic plan. We need to have as many of you on the table to talk about how we move forward. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I see Councilmember Oates and then Mayor Pro Tem Mackey. Next.
Great. First, I just want to thank you both for your report and for coming here today before us. And I'll say we're working on it for District 3 and it will make our broader advisory board appointments, and there are some new appointments, including one in District 3. I wanted to pull on a few threads, and the first one was related to bike racks, because I think that, in my view, to some extent, this is actually an economic development issue in the city. Of people try to visit College Park businesses or restaurants or other places, and then don't have any place to put their bike, or go to a playground and don't have things. So I had, in our council discussions on the budget, proposed that there be money put in the budget to support bike racks. The reason that didn't end up in the final budget was that the view was existing resources can meet the need, and that there's grant opportunities that we could pursue that would effectively pay for what the needs are. So I'll just say I personally would be very interested to hear more from BPAC on where are the places that in the city where you think there should be bike racks, and in particular thinking about, so new developments have to kind of build that infrastructure in, but what is our older development and where that's needed?
Well, one of our members was going to do a huge survey operation to get recommendations, and when we found out there was no funding, then she has suspended that effort. But I will say personally that I was, I think was it yesterday or the day before, in the College Park Shopping Center, which has no bike racks. I got there by bicycle, and I had to go outside the shopping center to find a railing to park my bike at. So it's all around us.
Yeah. So I'm happy to. I'll be joining your meeting next Thursday. So happy to chat more. But I do think that is a need, and one that is pretty easy to fulfill, but that will change the feel of, oh, this is hard. Even if you have the connectivity, if the endpoints, you don't have anywhere to put your bike, then it's not there. I think the other one question I had for you all is kind of a weird one, but I assume that when BPAC was last given a charge, it was probably before the era of electric scooters. And so, the focus on pedestrians, the focus on bicycles, are scooters within the scope of BPAC, and do you think they should be?
I'll tell you what. If you want to add it to our charge, we will take it in our charge, and especially if you want to add any scooter activists to our committee, and we will definitely be working on that. I haven't, frankly, seen much of an issue where we would be treating scooters differently from bicycle or pedestrian, but I'm open to it.
Yeah, part of the reason I ask is just, the city does have a Via Ride contract. There are other issues where they share resources with bikes and pedestrians. And so it seems to me like something that if we, in the future, are reviewing the charge of the committee, it might be worthwhile to include in the scope. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Mayor Pro Tem Mackey and then Councilmember Hill.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for your report, and thank you to whoever answered all of my questions that I sent earlier. It was very helpful to receive those answers, and I too support your idea about lowering the speed limit. I was the one who asked for the speed limit to be lowered on Rhode Island Avenue several years ago, and I'm glad that I did. I don't know that it's effective, but I think it is that we went down and lowered the speed limit. One of the things with lowering speed limits and having traffic calming, those are all voluntary. People can choose to go over the speed humps really fast. They can choose to not follow the speed limit. They can choose to go through stop signs and not slow down. So I am very supportive of measures that protect cyclists and pedestrians in ways that keep them safe, not just slowing people down, but keeping them safe. I want to tell you that I actually went to the meeting about Metzeroth Road. It's a very extensive study and report that if you haven't seen it, you should. And you should look at it. I think I might still have it if you want to contact me. But it's a very interesting report about Metzeroth Road. And I just wanted to say that for me, engaging the community is very, very important. And also looking at issues, like one of the issues is that we have a epidemic in our country of childhood obesity too. So it's very important that we're making places where children can walk to parks, can walk to school, can walk to the bike to the bus stop. I saw was driving back home into College Park Woods and saw the 2 bus stops and was shocked at the amount of cars waiting there to pick up their kids from the bus stops. So thank you for this report. Thank you for outlining your priorities. And I just really want to applaud you for the work that you're doing in the city, and to really encourage you to continue. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And Rocky, we've had now 2 requests that we look at the Metzeroth Road development for our next BPAC meeting. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can review it. We have reviewed it after the county did go over it. I think there was a workshop or something that they conducted. It was a virtual one. So we did do an overview of that, just a quick rundown. I believe one more BPAC member was part of that session, but we did run down, but we can do it again, just as a refresher, again, just so we're.
I don't know if we ever had on our agenda.
We had.
Yeah. Okay.
Please go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just extend my my day job's expertise in getting you a point of contact to DPWT's liaison who can actually come to the meeting and with the committee to talk about the actual project. So you'll have someone there firsthand to answer questions for you.
Thank you. Because Metzeroth, that road is a county road, correct? That's the reason. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hill, for patiently waiting. Please go ahead. And then Councilor Jordan, I believe.
Sure. I'd just like to kind of follow up on Councilmember Oates' comments. He made me think about something that was brought to my attention by another resident. There are more and more e-bikes on these trails nowadays, and I have one myself. I'm an early adopter, but one of the things that can be an issue is the amount of power, the wattage of these bikes. The residents forwarded me an article, I forget where it was, where a regular cyclist and a biker that had a high-powered motor head-on collided, and they both died. So that's something that we need to take in consideration. I've noticed a number of these souped-up e-bikes now beginning to make appearances, and the young individuals that have them are getting together and daring each other to do kind of reckless things. So I know that some trails are limited to the wattage. You can only have 500 watts or below, that sort of thing. So this might be something we might want to start considering as it's become more frequent out there.
Yeah, the trail from I think of it as the Park Run Trail, but I believe it's technically the Paint Branch Trail. They have a limit. They say low power bikes only. But that's park and planning. That's not the city. You would have to have if you want to address this on city right away, you're going to have to pass an ordinance. And if you want us to talk about it, we can talk about it.
My main concern is the trolley trail. The other
maybe
bike lanes on Route 1, they're single direction, and you're flowing with a faster pace, vehicles, and there's sidewalks for pedestrians. But where pedestrians and other cyclists mix together, like on a trolley trail, I think we need to consider some sort of regulation.
Before Ms. Jordan, Councilmember Jordan speaks, so in regards to the scooters on not the trolley trail, but Paint Branch Trail, Mr. Rafi, you probably remember we made a request to change the geofencing of the VO so that our residents can use the trail to get into College Park Woods. A couple of months ago, there's a complaint that the residents could not get into the neighborhood. It was stopping them as they are trying to cross, I believe, at the golf course road, which the intersection is.
So there was a cutoff in power once they passed the geofence?
Correct.
That was handled by my colleague, Carlos, presumably, who spearheads efforts with VO. But I can definitely follow up with them. I wasn't included in any updates for that, but I'm sure we would hear more if it wasn't taken care of. Let me check and follow up.
If you could, please. Yeah, that would address the connectivity issues that Ms. Shelby was talking about. Residents don't have many options to get into College Park Woods other than driving. This is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Councilmember Jordan.
Thank you very much for this report, and this is an important issue for the council and for the residents of College Park. I want to echo Councilmember Hernandez about the advocacy, especially for the developments and improvements that are coming to some of these areas that you highlighted in your report. Specifically, the Metropolitan is having a session for community engagement on June 25th. But they're in their detailed site plan, in their presentation to the College Park Mayor and Council. They talked about different kinds of improvements that have to do with lighting and bike lanes and things like that. And so I think having, as Councilmember Hernandez said, having members of BPAC or more and more residents who can show that the interest of College Park, that this would be something that would be sorely needed. And similarly, on June 24th, the State Highway Association is having a community engagement meeting up for Baltimore Avenue from 193 to Sunnyside, and as you know, that is one of the areas that you identified, and so. I think that this would be a ripe opportunity for this. We already know that there will be changes to those areas, and so if we can get in and have a seat at the table, have a voice, then we can see what we can do about affecting change for College Park. And then I also would like to echo Councilmember Oates on the importance of bike racks. Again, I don't know that it was the intention of council that these were not important. It had to do with the funding sources, not that it was not something that we wanted to move forward with. Certainly it would be one of my priorities. That's a part of using your bicycle to go places means that you can go places. It isn't just, I wanted to ride my bicycle and then go home, right? You want to go to dinner, you want to go to school, you want to commute, you want to go shopping, all these different things. So I appreciate, I do want to make sure that is one of the priorities, I believe, of council, certainly of myself. Thank you.
Thank you. I do echo the importance of attending, not only by BPAC, but also community as a whole, at the Route 1 Phase 2 and Phase 3 meeting at Bellsville, because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to advocate whether we need to have multimodal privilege transportation options on Route 1. Once this is built, it's built, and we lose that opportunity. Thank you. Question to Mr. Young. I know you have been involved in organizing this meeting on Phase 2 and Phase 3. How will this meeting will be handled? Is it, will there be, I don't think there will be any QA session or anything, or any presentation.
I believe it's going to be more participatory, kind of roundtable discussions and presentations by the engineers that are involved. They'll have the sketches, the draft renderings of their project engineering. I'm not sure at what percentage of engineering they're presenting at that meeting, but it'll be the first time I will have seen it myself.
Thank you. So there will be some sort of way to get community's input as part of the discussion. So certainly your input will be very valuable.
Yeah, and that's been part of the delay, is really getting some of the preliminary engineering completed so that they could at least start the conversation and people would have a place at which to start and to have the conversation as to what improvements would be needed.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So staff and BPAC, I think you heard quite a bit. I'm sure that you'll be working on and coming back with a report or something. So, and some of the projects are related to complete street projects and probably could be incorporated in the CIP. And some of them, like the bike rack, I don't think they need a CIP. That could be done by our maintenance budget, public works budget, maybe. So it looks like the council has the support for that. So please let us know how can we support you, certainly, and please continue to advise us the way you want to see College Park more walkable and bikeable. Thank you for your work. Appreciate it. All right, let's go to the next presentation, which is about the framework for strengthening property regulations through licensing, and which includes business and residential rental and vacant property registries, short-term rental oversight, overcrowding enforcement, and adoption of updated property maintenance code. And this will be taken by our Deputy City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Hi. Thank you for reading all of that, Mayor. That was I made the longest title for you ever, and I apologize for that, truly. So thank you again. And so tonight, Council, we're here. This is, so for the record, Michelle Bailey Hedgepeth, Deputy City Manager. I want to first acknowledge staff. I've got Jatinder Kokar, our Department of Public Services. David Spalding's here. He's our Code Enforcement Manager. And Derek Davies, our Code Enforcement Supervisor, in the audience.
Mr. Davies, please come forward.
Yeah,
we need you.
Mr. Davies, come on forward. Come on. So well, we wanted to first just provide some an overview for the council, kind of something brief today to get us started, because there's been so many questions about code enforcement. What are, how are we working through some items? Where are we going? And I think over my first 2.5, I guess, whatever, I'm kind of lost about, I'm at 2.5 or maybe 3 months, whatever. We've been kind of working on some ideas of things that need to be addressed. So what we did is put together this framework as a way for the council to sort of see where we are. So I'm not going to read every slide. I'm just going to kind of acknowledge some things that we all know that's going on. One, that this presentation will then just summarize some of our challenges. It'll start to align where we go with code enforcement. We'll provide some refinements to what we're looking at for the regulatory items, like the International Property Maintenance Code, outline some coordinated next steps, and then just kind of establish this framework for the council and a policy direction moving forward. What we wanted to kind of say is, like, we understand and we get them all the time, are what are the recurring nuisances that the council sees, that residents see, that are out there. We see businesses operating outside of the zoned uses. There's noise, we get overcrowded rentals, and then we've got a lot of nuisance. We have some nuisance issues, parking, trash, all those kinds of things. Because we're a university, we have transient issues. We have unauthorized uses in our short-term rentals, like yard events, and we are still trying to get our arms around short-term uses or short-term rentals. I think the rise of Airbnb sort of put this in the forefront for everybody. So we did adopt we adopted an ordinance for it. But with everything else that's going on, we need to really tighten that up and also put that together. And then repeated property maintenance violations. Again, that same trash and litter, and then adjacent homeowners and long-term residents, that clash that kind of happens in university towns. All right, I'm always forgetting which one to do. All right, next one. So we did just a quick overview of the complaint process. Mr. Kokar kind of and I love his notes because he's got the best handwriting in the world, so he put together kind of these great notes for me in regards to what happens in a complaint. You know, we perform the research and assign an officer. We start to activate the case, advise the complainant of a case number, and provide a staff contact. We do that field inspection, and then we verify, and then we have a decision point. You know, issue a code enforcement finding or not. And then what we do is we follow up through inspections and compliance, and then either that case is closed or it's moving on. When I'm looking at this whole idea of our notice of violations and steps, we have what we collect on notice of violations. So when there are notice of violations, these are the things that we see, and then these are what's part of a notice of violation when something occurs. I'm going to just kind of go through some of these issues and then staff will be here to answer the questions to answer where we are. But again, where are we? What are we doing? And how are we going to get there in these focus areas? In the area of the city businesses, rental licenses, et cetera, we're primarily working through this whole idea of permitting. So we have occupancy permits. And most people usually kind of call them rental licenses. I think we even call them rental licenses and business licenses. But we are really looking to move to make it more consistent in our nomenclature, and also making sure that we are kind of not calling them necessarily occupancy permits, because some people believe their occupancy permit are the same as the county has an occupancy permit, and when they get an occupancy permit from the county, they think that they don't need one when they come to the city of College Park, and it's not right, but it's an issue that we've kind of find all the time. We're like, well, I've gone to the county, and it should be the same thing. You have to have the occupancy permit, and we're not saying that we're going to change our process a great deal about what we're going to inspect or what we're going to look at, but we are still going to maintain the fact that we need to have, we're going to have pretty much the same idea. The next thing we found is our code enforcement software, even today, and our ability to answer things in a really coherent way. It's not great. We've had an experiment with Acela over the last 3 or 4 years. No knock on Acela, but totally knock on Acela, that it hasn't been what we expected. And we use our GoGov, which is a separate process that what the Department of Public Works has been using, and we'd like to move to GoGov in regards to into code enforcement. So we are working through that module, and we'll have some timelines. But what we're hoping to do is we're going to enter into that this summer, get it completed by the end of the summer, and then start implementing through GoGov, which will allow us to do a lot of the things mobilely. I mean, I hate to to expose all of our secrets, but it's hard for our employees to, they don't do everything mobilely. They have to come back to the office, download photos, and coming back and forth. And so you would think that their jobs should mostly be mobile, and it's really not at this point. In our parking, it is, but for our code enforcement, it isn't. And so getting those processes re-streamlined and putting them together in a way that really works efficiently and effectively is something that we'll be working on this summer. All right. So again, this is the whole idea of the transitioning to licensing. Again, defining the regular activities, reducing that confusion, improving the tracking and the responsible priorities, and then, basically aligning our enforcement tools across rental, short-term rental, non-residential, and the vacant property. we've passed a lot of ordinances recently. We've got the vacant property ordinance, we have the short-term rental property, and we also have the early lease option, the early lease, which we're all working on simultaneously, and I don't even have early lease in here. You'll have a separate thing where I'll just talk about early lease. But those are all enforced by our code enforcement officers. And so right now, we are trying to make sure they're all aligned and they're all in their individual buckets. And what a lot of this is sorting and placing and sorting and placing for you all to understand where everything is. What we're proposing is that we're going to regulate it as a rental license, a business license, a distinct short-term rental license, a vacant property license aligned with the registry that's part of the ordinance, and then licenses that are in Chapter 129, which are special licenses. And Sharon has explained to me what all these are, but I will depend on Derek and them to answer those extensively for you. Lastly, one of the last ones is about going to the short-term rental. Some of the issues is that we said the boom of Airbnb kind of caused these short-term rentals to pop up, and I know that a couple of the council members have alerted us, and we know they're out there and they've been operating, and a lot of questions have been asked, like, well, can staff go on and basically go on to Airbnb and just kind of figure out where they are, which I'd love to have the time to do that, but what I'm hoping is maybe something that we can figure out through AI or figuring out to be able to track these better. Is a better response for us than probably looking through Airbnb every day to see who and what. But we will use it as a resource when we see, when they're reported, to see how they're listed. But beyond just that normal short-term rental, we also have these special event and party houses and outdoor areas and pools that extend beyond that typical family and vacation rental. So that's where the issues are. The issue of overcrowding, I wanted to do a quick slide on that. Overcrowding itself is something that has been a bane, I guess, of the code enforcement's existence and even the council's existence from the standpoint of identifying it properly, understanding where it's occurring, and being able to coordinate an effective enforcement. A lot of times it takes working with our parking enforcement. It takes looking at trash and working with Public Works and, doing that. And Jacob Vassilotti, I'd have to give him his shout outs today, is that he's done a really good job with a project when we looking at where the garbage cans are. And so he's actually, it's amazing how they're tracking where the trash cans are. That will help us to understand where we're seeing this issue. So we're starting to get the data, and since they have GoGov and we have GoGov, that can all overlap together, which is going to be helpful to us. So here's our proposed timeline. So implementing of GoGov would be the summer of 2026. We're looking to purchase the program. I think we finally purchased it in the last couple of days, so that's done. And programming, it will take another month or two to get it together. Staff has been working really hard on that and really putting together those processes. I'd also like to thank Jatinder and actually the code team. There's several days and nights when I'm walking around here and they're still here working on the policies and procedures that we've been revising and aligning so that when we use GoGov, it's correct. It matches our code, it matches our operations. And so over the last few months, we've been really working on what are our processes and what are our policies. And then the next step would be developing a comprehensive licensing framework. The code amendments that we'll be working on, and I'm going to overlook, probably poor Stephanie, our city attorney on this as well, is working through our code and looking at that from the standpoint of the IMPC and making sure that we're aligning that to our licensing structure. And we believe that that should occur through August through November of 2026. We're also right now implementing a new code enforcement standards and operating procedures. It's kind of backwards. I had this listed, which is going on right now. And the staff, as I mentioned, the staff is working through that, which is in July, which should be complete in July. We're doing training with our staff, which the first set of training is actually in the next 2 weeks, and we will continue to train our code enforcement staff throughout the summer on both the launch and also this change in our framework. And then the public launch will happen this fall to the winter, depending on how the implementation of some of the code changes happen. We are reviewing the fees and costs. We've got some information that we provide, some initial information that you will see from us, and that item will be presented this fall, and probably fall to winter, which I like to not box myself in too much. And then hopefully we can get an adoption of the 2021 International Property Maintenance Code. And why aren't we adopting, let's say, the 2026 or the 2024? The county, I believe, is still on 2021. And it's one of those things that you kind of take a little bit more gradually than just doing the latest and greatest. So just in case you get that question, like, why aren't you doing the new one? Because this is much newer than the one we have. So I'm here for questions, and staff's here.
Thank you so much. I have a couple of questions, if I may ask, very quick ones. I think you mentioned the public works uses GoGov and public services uses DPS uses Acela. Am I correct?
That is correct, Mayor. Yeah, we've been using Acela for our licensing since about 2021, 22, is that, or 2020? Yeah. 2020, excuse me. So 2020. Yeah.
So when residents like us, we use the interface, the College Park Connect or TELUS, where those requests go to?
So the CRM, which are the customer service ones, go through GoGov, but the licensing and all those are going through. We are duplicating that in Acela. So
they're duplicated. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why the process. They're two separate streams. And staff is nodding, so I'm getting it right. So they're two separate streams.
That's not the most efficient of doing business. So that makes sense that we could use the same system. Thank you. Totally agree. One other thing, as we've been attending different conferences and the meetings, we have been seeing more and more cities and towns and even counties, they have been adopting AI-driven software to do the initial screening. I'm not talking about the review. I'm talking about the initial screening. When someone submits the forms and associated documents, the AI could be very helpful in the software to do the initial pass. Is there something GoGov or Acela or any other software could support?
Yeah, I can speak to this, Mayor. I think AI and machine learning, that process has been used in building plan review process for new construction aspect of things. Yeah. And even in that, it's still in the early stages of implementation in the country. There are some big organizations who have started to think through that, but there are still many challenges in there in terms of QA, QC, and other aspects of the operation. As far as this, I think Acela and GoGov, they don't talk to each other very well. And, we have had challenges in the Acela implementation, how it was sold to us and how it was implemented. So we probably had a lot of interfacing and the softwares working together for the effectiveness and streamlining and efficiency part of our operation. What we have realized, we implemented CRM in the later part of 24, and we are really doing well, and that is helping us. But I think since our licensing and permitting aspects in our system is through Acela, so in many cases we are duplicating a lot of things. And sometime in Acela there are some inherent automation functions which are not implemented correctly when we bought the software as itself. We are just working through those phases. And we have recently kind of, signed an agreement with GoGov to move on to the licensing and permitting aspect, so that the same kind of software is used all across the organization, like DPW, us, permitting and licensing aspects, all on the same, portal.
Thank
and
you.
It'll streamline the efficiency, streamline the information flow to the public, internally as well as externally.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Certainly took the right initiative, right steps to streamline the two softwares into one. Thank you. All right, let's see. I see a couple of hands, starting with Councilor Hugh and then Councilor Hernandez.
Yes, thank you. I'm just curious, what is the process for, an individual to register a rental? Is it totally voluntary, or is it something that staff, intervenes on? How is it that a rental is declared? Because I just reported, I guess today, that a house went for sale, has sold, and now it's a for rent sign is up. So as new homes get sold, there's a high ratio of homes that are bought in this city get turned into rentals. So what's the process for following up on that?
David, you want to take a stab at it?
Yes. We try to track all the properties that are sold in College Park, and we'll reach out to the new owner. We'll take down that information, and then we will issue an invoice or a letter to the new owner talking about the rules of renting at College Park and how to apply. We'll send them a link on how to apply for rental, and we'll follow up with that as well. But as far as voluntary, a lot of times that they buy in College Park, they're not aware that they need to get a rental license.
And how I know that when I'm out there campaigning and I'll be talking to residents, and they'll be saying that there's all these unregistered rentals that we are maybe aware of, not aware of, that has not been followed up on, that they've complained about. How can we help fix that situation when we're told about this?
I think, Councilman, what you did when you submit through, let's say, when you submitted it to us, we actually are going to put that into GoGov, and we do that. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach, right? It's the enforcement through the fact that we're sending it as the things get sold. We're following up on complaints. I mean, it's complaint driven. It's process driven. It's like, we're going to have to do multiple hits. So it's not perfect. And I think the other part, what we're also looking at, we also look at previous databases, and we look at that homes that have been historically rented, right, Derek? I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about so we do have an idea of houses that are traditionally have been rentals, and we have a list that we follow up in that. But the issue that we've had with the Acela is that every year we create a brand new license, and that license is not necessarily linked to the old license. And so we have all of these files that are not connected, and we've got to then connect the different files together. And so part of it has been very hard in our tracking, and we're hoping that with the new system that some of these inefficiencies will be corrected. But I think the one good thing is that our staff themselves does have a good idea before we had Acela with our old program. And I don't know, I'll just let you guys talk to that. So let me stop talking and let you talk.
So a lot of y'all that have been around for a while remember the old green screens, the legacy system, the AS400. They would alert us, that system would alert every time a property came up for renewal for an annual permit. The Acela is not alerting us. So we basically have to manually go in to find what is being expired or is getting ready to expire. Sometimes it's slipping through the cracks trying to get that. So we're looking forward to going to GoGov to be able to have that, and also email notifications as well. The old system would give out an email notification to a property owner saying your permit's going to expire in 30 days. It's time to re-up. It's time to renew. We're not finding that right now with our system, so we're looking forward to that as well.
Thank you. And lastly, when I attend the National League of Cities in their expo hall. I'm not sure if you'll be there at MML. I hope they will be, but there is a vendor who will utilize all the online services like for short-term rentals, like Airbnb and Vrbo and all that, to give us a profile of all the short-term rentals that are operating within our city. They hunt that stuff down and provide that information. So this might be initially something we might want to consider to get a baseline of the short-term rentals in our city.
I appreciate that, and we can look that up. Thank you. We will
Certainly,
follow up.
yeah, please connect offline, please. Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez and Councilmember Orts after that, and then Councilmember Mitchell.
So first and foremost, I'm supportive of us like transitioning entirely to GoGov from just a standardization perspective. What I found useful is, it's easier and easier to sell to residents to submit their own complaints. One of the things as a council member, if it's possible, for us to, now I don't know if you can, but like for us to be able to track some of the items, because otherwise we're kind of just repeating the same submissions. I don't know if that's a growth opportunity that we can do, but I think that would be helpful, and also helpful for us to be able to follow up with our residents that says, hey, that property's already been submitted, like they're working on it, and we can track it. Otherwise, it's us submitting it in addition to our residents. So any efforts to try to optimize it is fantastic. I'll say when it comes to some of the other more lofty frameworks that we're proposing, it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. I know that we've worked on the vacant and blighted property tax in the previous council. I think it's really, really important that we do that, especially with the commercial properties across the city, and some that are just chronically, operating out of bad faith. I really don't know. So early intervention is more effective and less costly than addressing the long-term deterioration that we've seen in some of our communities. I'm wondering if when we do launch these different ordinances that we possibly work across some of the departments, right? Code enforcement and public services has a really important role in enforcing efforts, but we have other departments, let's just say if we're talking about commercial sectors, to work hand in hand with economic development, work hand in hand with some of the other departments that may be able to assist perhaps planning as you do these targeted areas. I'm specifically focused right now on Edgewood and Rhode Island, and in the future, Route 1 north of Maryland 193. There are a lot of businesses there that operate, and when you just see the consistency of broken code, I mean, you'll see the yards out of place, the smoke shops that just continue to pop up like just a bad weed. And I'm not really sure if they have licenses, but I don't know the operational tempo that code enforcement is doing this. I'm hoping that this serves, like the standardization serves as a trackable, measurable effort for us to be able to go after some of these long-term issues. On the short-term rental, just one comment. One of the issues that I've seen, at least through one of the short-term rentals in our district, is a lack of ability to enforce. Do we need ordinances in place to be able to enforce some of the ordinances that we have currently in order for you all to be able to address those issues?
We need a process and we need a license that allows us to, we have the ordinance in place, and I believe that we have the fine structure in order to do it. We just need the operational, so that someone can get our license. Does that make sense? Because the county license exists, and Jatinder, please take it on from there.
I think, Councilmember Hernandez, you make a great point. One of the reasons why we are switching our licensing, from Excella to GoGov is we want all that database within one system. And I will give you one example. I think we implemented, trash fees recently, and we were trying to implement that in our Excella software. But there were there were not avenues to generate billing within that. Whereas, when we talk to the GoGov people to implement that, they are just creating that. And as Michelle has indicated earlier in her presentation, that we basically have rental property database, we got business license database, and then we got vacant property registry, and then we're going to be doing, any enforcement issues. They are all going to be in one software, talking to each other, and then also all the transitional information that is also being used by Public Works, that is also going to be all in that as well. So that will definitely enhance the streamlining, and the systems are easily talking to each other. So, for example, short-term rental was implemented back in 23 end, but we did not have means to implement that in Excella. But with GoGov, when we are transitioning for this licensing, we are already creating those applications. And because I think legally we cannot utilize the same rental application for short-term rentals. There has to be a separate application based on the legal department's suggestion. And even the vacant registry we passed last year, and we have created a database, and we are managing that process at the present time through the regular Excel spreadsheets that we have in our system. But we will be implementing that also as a license in GoGov implementation that we are doing. Yes, it seems like lofty, but it is doable, and that is probably the best streamlined process as we go forward.
Okay.
And we are not going to have a a big bite, but I think we're going to implement one by one, and to implement those, we're going to have to bring in the ordinance changes. And that was the whole purpose why we implemented the timeline in one of the slides that Michelle talked about earlier.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that the current state is unwieldy, right? It's very difficult to take pictures, go back, process it, and as we introduce new ordinances, you all are having a challenging time making sure that there's a streamlined methodology to be able to hit those certain enforcement metrics. This is going to help resolve that.
Absolutely.
What I'd like to ask, just for clarification purposes, and this can be taken entirely offline, is do you have the ordinance infrastructure in place to be able to hold these entities accountable? Because as I've understood, that may have been an oversight in the 2023 provision, at least for the short-term rentals.
Yeah, I think there will be minor, ordinance amendments that will be needed, and we will go forward with those, efforts as well as we go along this process.
Fantastic. I'm interested in making sure that we continue that discussion, but it doesn't need to happen right now. One final thing, I think registration and licensing provide accountability and transparency, and this new licensing structure that we would potentially explore could be a huge revenue driver for the city. I think I saw our financials come in for, was it the last quarter here? We were close to just under $1 million in licensing and registration fees. I think it's fantastic. I think even me, I have one of the a rental property. It's not cheap, but it's definitely provides us an accountability metric. I think if we have to add business licenses, we should talk about it and have is this multiple entities that they own? Is it a restaurant? We have to have a full conversation across council before we end up doing that business license.
Thank you.
And we'll bring it back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. Councilor Oates, and then Councilor Mitchell. And then Councilor Hughes, a second bite.
Great. Thank you. And really just want to say I appreciate the work that we've done together over the last several months, and excited to be here and getting these updates from you. And really appreciate the work that you did with our District 3 intern, Oliver Slade, to collect data in District 3. I think on the business license point, my understanding is that we currently don't issue our own city business licenses. It's like a state and county regulated piece. So I want to understand that more. That doesn't have to be right now, but I think on kind of revising the code and moving towards licensing instead of permitting, moving towards GoGov, all sounds great. I think one thing as part of that transition implementation that I know folks in the past that we had prior to Acela that people appreciated was having contact info publicly available for landlords or landlords' agents, so that residents or city staff could contact if there are problems with particular rental properties. I think that was helpful for folks, so would want to see that continue to move forward. I know that we raised a question on AI earlier, I think trying to figure out how to use AI to review rental advertisements for potential violations, or if you're advertising a 14-bedroom house that's permitted for 5 people, maybe look into that. And then on the point on vacant properties, I think really great first steps in terms of kind of understanding what the scope of the problem is. I think I'd like to see the city do more in terms of actually maybe doing outreach to improve the utilization of the housing stock in vacant properties, particularly. I'll say a non-resident reached out to me from a neighboring municipality recently and noted, said, hey, can I get access to the vacant property list, so I can contact the homeowners and try to buy those homes, right? And so the point isn't to just study the problem; it's also to figure out why particular properties are vacant and how do we convert them into things that are helping the housing stock within the city. So. And that can be, I think, through collaborative means with landlords or with property owners, and through maybe less collaborative means. But I think ultimately the goal is to ensure that as we're dealing with housing affordability issues, that there's not just vacant properties that aren't contributing to the community. So again, really excited for this work, and really appreciate the work of staff to put this together, and look forward to many further conversations, particularly on the changes to code that we'll have in the future.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilmember Mitchell first, and then Councilor Mackey, and then Councilor Hill.
Councilmember, he has to get off.
Yes. Okay. There we go. We got you. Got it. Third time is a charm. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. Thank you for your report. I appreciate the information. I know this has been a long time in discussion and coming around the corner and the bend, but we are here, and I know that moving forward, this is going to be some excellent work that's going to come out of your department. One thing I want to ask in regards to, we talked about the short-term rentals and the Airbnbs. We consider them businesses, so hopefully you would consider them as a business license versus a rental license. But also, are we going to be looking at some of the social media platforms such as Willow and Zillow to obtain information regarding those entities, those houses who are using their house as a rental, but now it's really as an Airbnb? Yes. No, maybe.
I think that, what Councilmember Hume is mentioning is that looking and trying to find, I think an AI bot probably would help us a lot in this search. And I think the one thing that it's really, let's say, providential that we're going to go to MML very shortly, and I think that we'll probably see some resources that will be able to help us with this and the data. So I think it is something, I feel like it's a much better lift for something that's not staff intensive, so by using AI or something like that. So
okay.
we will figure that out as a next step.
And I hope that also will be going along the lines when we talk about illegal construction with houses that are being purchased and assumed to be rentals, but they are building them out to add more rooms to them. And I know Mayor Pro Tem Mackey and I have seen many iterations of calls from residents about several homes in the Woods and in Crystal Springs that have been that have been done. I know Mr. Days has been working with DPI very intentionally in trying to help us get violations on that. So I hope that's another aspect that we can work on. I think those are all my questions. My colleagues asked other questions that I was going to ask, but I already received the answers. But I just really look forward to the outcome. But I also hope that we can really also work with the county with some of their best practices that they have in trying to dig out the large volume of issues that they have to deal with and how we can rectify them in a timely fashion about some of their best practices. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's go to Mayor Potomaki.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for answering all my questions that I sent you. And I just had a few additional from your presentation. So you said that the DPW is doing a trash study. Like I was very interested in that because there's houses that have like 4 trash cans and 4 recycling. So I'm thinking to myself, how many people are living there to make that much trash and that much recycling? So you're studying like how much trash is being.
So we're doing they were doing an inventory of the number of trash and recycling bins and
Okay.
where they're assigned and trying to determine which ones belong at which houses and all that information. And
Right.
so that's what we're trying to do, is to see what the actual numbers are. And I mean, Robert's really passionate about all this stuff. I'm like, I can't even match his enthusiasm on half of this stuff.
Right.
But I'll say that that is something that is going on in Public Works that is sort of is happening in parallel. And I guess that's the one good thing about working with both Public Works and with DPS and with planning, is that we're kind of talking about these issues now a little bit broadly. Like I'll hear one thing here and connect it to there. And so
Right.
I think we're connecting more on those levels. But yes, this is going on simultaneously. We had an intern who did a capstone process. We had a capstone project on this, not a capstone, the university project, the PALS project, where interns actually looked at all these and worked with Jacob as well. So we have some very interesting results that we will be working through. And along with what Oliver did in District 3, we've got some really good synergies even from that and how that also kind of overlaps.
If I could add there, what it really allowed us to do is make sure that we are billing through the amount of trash and recycling containers that each property has. Because we found some that we were only getting one revenue source for one can, and they probably had about six to 8.
Oh.
So, and that was from probably one of our, I guess they call those more of a nonprofit organization that we were trying to assist over the years. So they were already at our lowest rate. So, we have to work toward correcting that because, our resources require that we make sure that we're accurately charging for the services that we're delivering.
Right. I had one more question, I think. So am I understanding this correctly that parking is staying with Acela, or no? Yeah.
No, they're already on GoGov. They have a different one.
They have a different. So they're
Ames. They have Ames. Right. They have Ames,
Okay.
which is separate.
So they're going to
Yeah.
stay on that.
And they're fine. Yeah, that's
Okay.
working.
That's
working.
Because I think that when you drive by a house and they have 3 cars in the driveway and 3 cars in front, and there's no place to park on the street, it's a pretty good indication that there's more than 5 unrelated people living in the house. So I was just wondering if parking is going to be in on this too, like in some way.
I believe that Ames has better reporting, and we're able to pull that reporting a lot more consistently, and we're able to pull those reports to get the information, which is why we're continuing to stay with Ames. And I don't think and I was mentioning to Mr. Young is that when I was in Bladensburg, we had GoGov, and I wanted to move to parking, and they couldn't do the parking the way I needed it. So I would say stick with Ames because that was one of the ones I did look at. And I would say that we are not having problems. So this one's not broke. I don't want to fix it this minute.
Right, okay, that's good to know. So thank you very much, and thank you again for answering all my questions earlier.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilor Jordan.
Thank you again for your report. I had a question about the inspections and how those would happen and who they would, like what properties those would be applying to. So can you walk me through what happens now and what differences there would be after this?
I'm going to let Mr. Spalding or Mr. Davies work with it, yeah. Because it'll be pretty much the same, but it will be more of an electronic process. But Mr. Davies, take it on from here. Dave, sorry. I know the last name, and I mercilessly beat it up.
So the process is really not going to change. The new software is going to be able to enable us to track it better, to be able to renew things quicker, and be on the alert for those things that come up when it's time to renew. So the actual inspection process will still be the same. We're still going to be inspecting all residential rentals, all commercial properties, all multifamily buildings, all the way across the board. So that process is not going to change.
And then my understanding is that we're expecting that there are some under the radar rentals at the moment that will likely be found in this new process.
Yes.
And so that's good because the inspections, in addition to the rental license has benefits for the city financially, but also we do want to see that our residents live in a safe environment, and we want to make sure that the buildings are in proper order and all those kinds of things. So this will be so short-term, medium-term, and long-term rentals and vacant properties. Is that what you were saying? And then businesses as well, to the extent that we do them now?
Yes.
All right.
Yep. We encourage all residents to notify us. They're the ears and eyes of the neighborhoods. They're there all the time. If they suspect there's a rental property and they don't think it's licensed, please reach out to us, send us an email or give us a call so we can investigate to see if that's the case. So please, please encourage your residents to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we go to Councilor Hugh, Mr. Coker, thank you for email to one of our residents over the weekend, and you gave some good news about keeping track of a rental property database. I remember many years ago we used to have a rental property database, but because of some reasons,
sure,
we don't use it. But now it looks like you have a way to bring that back. Can you
Yeah,
tell us?
sure. I think in the legacy system we had that there, and I think all the residents, all the like management company, they really liked it. When Excella was implemented, there were some inherent security issues as well as like certain things that we couldn't share that in a public forum or a public portal because we were concerned about the system being hacked. With this implementation, everything across through the GoGov, like platform, that issue is going to be resolved. And we have heard that loud and clear from all the stakeholders in the city. We are going to do that, and we are going to implement that. There's already, conversation happening in the design of this switchover.
Thank you. And this will be in terms of timeline. This will be done by the summer. Am I correct?
We hope.
Okay, that's around the corner. And the residents will be able to search a property by the address or a street name?
So they will have the same capability as it was in the legacy system.
Yeah.
I think we have already talked to GoGov about that particular need.
Yeah. I think it's been at least 4 or 5 years.
I think up until 2019 or 2020, it was there.
Yeah.
But when there's in 21 and when this thing got moved to Excella, that was a inherent incapability.
Yeah, it's kind of downgrading, but I'm very happy that this is coming back. Appreciate your work. All right, Councilman Hugh. Thanks for your patience.
I think you just asked my question whether we would have access to the rental, what the rental listings so that we can provide accurate updates. So it sounds like everybody will, residents and council, will have access to that database.
It will be made public, correct? That interface to...
Yeah, like I think the things which are, like legally rented through our process, that listing will be there.
Right.
Of course, I think when I heard Councilmember Mitchell, there are other, platforms or the conversation like from Michelle about chatbot or utilizing. There are companies out there who probably have reached out to us, but I think we want to make sure that how much we are going to utilize or what is the extent of, short-term rentals out there. I think the numbers differ. Earlier, they were saying, oh, there may be 300 or 400 just in one district, in one area. And the reality is when we are trying to check it from the outside, available listings, those numbers are a lot smaller. But we are definitely, in case we have a need, we will definitely look into that option.
Thank you
so much. Just to be clear, not everything will be accessible to the public. Not everything will be accessible to council members as well. So, but there will be things that will be appropriate to be able to share, and we'll walk through that process.
Certainly. If I recall, in the old system 5 years ago, we could only see the name of the property and when was the last time a citation was given.
Mayor, you are taking me to the side of that. I'm thinking of bringing my legal hat here. I think anything that we share with the public, it has connotations of privacy. And there's definitely certain things we can share without any issue coming back to us. Yeah. But I think those things definitely, as the city manager said, they will have to be kind of vetted through the legal process as well.
Certainly, yeah. And I agree totally. Thank you.
Yeah. Just to clarify on this point, I think there is some information that is currently available publicly. It is not most of the information. I think what you're hearing from council is not all information, but some information should be available. I think the intention from my perspective is having the city be able to help people solve their own problems when there are issues with rental properties. And I think when the city removed the listing of a contact phone number or other things, it meant that people ended up having to go to the city to help solve those issues more rather than just, calling the landlord and saying, hey, can you check in on this? So I think that's clear and appreciate your work. But if I think to Council Member Hughes' question around like which properties are rentals, that's already public information that's on the city's databases that are publicly available online. So where if they are permitted, then that information is available. What is not available is the contact information for a landlord.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So looks like you had a robust discussion, and there's quite a few good ideas came. Sorry, Mr. Coker.
Thank you, Councilmember Oates. I think you expressed it very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, please, can I ask a question? Sorry. I don't know how this works. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yeah. Certainly.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for the fantastic presentation. Looking forward to a lot of items in here, especially you guys were talking about monitoring parking and trash to look at overcrowding. That's going to be very interesting. And looking forward to the reintroduction of that database. One thing I wanted to highlight, I think is important when we're developing these codes and any ways you guys can support this. I think there is oftentimes a case where landlords, especially for young college students, are not fully informing them of all of the rules around, for example, how many people can stay in a house, the trash fee for the number of trash and recycling bins. So we want to make sure that we're protecting tenants who may not actually know about these rules because you might tell the landlord, and if the landlord doesn't pass that on, then they get a fee for it. The student gets a fee. That's going to be on a bunch of college kids who quite simply did not know the very specific rules and codes we're going to be introducing. So when you guys are creating these codes, figuring out ways that we can make sure to be informing tenants, whether it be through online, mail, anything like that, I think that's key because I definitely know that I did not know all the rules about my own home when I moved in. The landlord doesn't sit down with their tenant and say, okay, here's all the College Park codes that, are applied. But I know for a fact that we pay fees on those. So making sure to protect tenants, I think, should be a key part of this in whatever way you think of.
So just FYI, Mayor, we will be attending some of the things that the university provides to students in regards to housing. Actually, Lisa and I are signed up for an event that's actually happening, I think, this summer, but we'll continue to do outreach to the students population in regards to our, in regards to our public services and the different things that are going on. We're working closely with Laura on just making sure that more of this is available online, especially because we're again, like we have the ELO, we have the new move-ins, we are part of Maryland Day when people come. So we are really working towards those, to getting students more educated. But I mean, I also think, Derek, we do knock and talks. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. The first week of school, we started this almost 20 years ago. The first week of school, we spend the 3 nights, about 3 hours each night, and we're concentrated in the Old Town area where it's students. And we knock on doors, we provide information about the rules, just like you were talking about. We have Code of Student Conduct comes along, a police officer comes along, talks about safety, and then I'll talk about noise, I'll talk about trash pickup days, things like that, and we do that throughout the Old Town area first week of school, trying to get the word out that way. If you can think of anything else, we're all ears here.
Yeah, perfect. I think you guys came by my house when I wasn't there that day, but my housemates informed me about that. So that's a perfect example. But just making sure if there's any new rules that get introduced that, tenants are informed of that, and we're protecting tenants from getting fees that they weren't aware of. Sure. So, but everything else sounds great. Thank you all for the presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I think we had a good discussion. Staff, final?
I'm sorry.
Very final one.
I'm sorry, I just got a text question from a resident regarding, and just wanted to make sure that they heard. Going back to the initial process, when someone purchases a home and they're intending to use it for, they say, rental property, you send out well, let me back up. When they purchase a home, do you send them a letter asking them their intent on what the use of the house is?
Yes, we send out what we call a usage intention statement to the new owner. A lot of times we get the information by doing a door knock because SDAT doesn't update very quickly. Sometimes it can take 5 or 6 months before we even find out who the new owner information is. So a lot of times we will just do a door knock and try to find out who the new owner is and make contact that way.
So the person purchased the house, you sent the letter of intent, they had not responded, and you just said that SDAT takes a couple months. But if they're using it as a rental property instead of as an owner-occupied property, what is the ruling?
So if we can confirm that it is a rental and being rented without a license, we will issue basically a notice of violation saying you're renting without a rental license, and you have 10 days to make application. If you don't, then they can be subject to a municipal infraction fine.
Mayor Pro Tem Mackey just asked me that. What is the fine, the monetary amount of the fine? How much is the fine?
It just changed. It's now $2,500.
$2,500, okay. And if between the time of them applying for the license and acquiring the license, they have violations in between that are very against public safety, what happens then?
We will knock on the door and ask to do an inspection at the time to see if tenants will let us in to confirm that it is safe property. We can do that.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, so that's all we have. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you have done, and looks like some good stuff is coming in the pipe, and I can't wait to see them coming. Maybe end of summer, as early as that. Thank you. Keep doing
Thank
the
you,
good work.
Council.
Appreciate it. All right. So next 2 items will be Ms. Ream's items, right? I can see. The first one is the strategic priorities and the long-term vision framework. Please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I am very pleased and excited to be here to talk to you about strategic priorities and a long-term vision framework for the city of College Park. I've got a few slides. Hopefully we'll get through them quickly because I think what I'm most interested in tonight is hearing your feedback on this proposal. So why now? Our strategic plan that we had in place between FY21 and FY25 has reached the end of its life cycle. It did serve as a guiding document for us throughout this past budget season. And I think it's important for us to also consider community context. So we know that there's been significant redevelopment and investment underway. There are obviously changing needs in the community and priorities. We see increased demands on city services as well as our infrastructure, the continued growth of the university. And I think what I've seen in my time here is a recognition, by this council as well as by staff and members of the public that the decisions that we are making today in this room will shape the future of College Park. I want to explain this slide to you. There's all these speech bubbles with lots of big buzzwords in them. And what it is when I joined the city 5 months ago, I walked in here knowing that one of the items I'd be working on was the strategic plan. And it was something that I was really excited about, but it was also something that I was very aware of as somebody new to this community that I needed to do a lot of listening. And so I joined here right when we were talking about budgets, and there were a lot of budget meetings, a lot of individual meetings, and I started doing a lot of listening and taking a lot of notes, and I started hearing a lot of common themes come up in those conversations between council members as well as conversations with the members of the public. And so common themes started to emerge, and as I was hearing those themes, it started to emerge as balancing today's priorities with College Park's long-term future. And so as I continue to think about that, and I think about the strategic plan, it started to come together in a framework where we can look at planning for today and for tomorrow. So what does that mean? That means looking at the next 3 to 5 years. What are our strategic priorities? What are the operational needs we have? So where should we put our efforts and focus on? How do we allocate our resources? And then thinking about what outcomes matter the most. And then thinking beyond that in terms of a community vision. So that's what kind of community do we want to see College Park be? How do we want to see College Park grow and evolve? And it started to come together that I think we have a clear opportunity here to establish clear priorities for the near term while also being able to define the long-term vision for College Park's future. So what you'll see here is kind of a 3-part structure. We'll get into the next slides a little bit more detail here on the structure. What I want to highlight here is really the 2 pieces that will run concurrently. So that's the looking ahead piece, which is our near-term strategic priorities, and the looking beyond piece, which is a vision, proposed vision for 2045. So those processes have different purposes, but they are complementary, and we're suggesting that they would be developed concurrently through a coordinated public engagement process. Doing them concurrently allows us to maximize our community engagement efforts, maximize staff capacity and time, as well as our community's time and input into this process, and ensures that our near-term priorities, those strategic priorities, are informed by the visioning process. So now I'm going to dive a little bit deep into this. So first step would be looking back, and I think it's really important that we look back to close out the priorities that we had identified in the FY21 to FY25 plan by doing a strategic plan closeout assessment. So what that means is looking at our accomplishments during those times, evaluating the progress that we made on the goals that we adopted, identifying any unfinished initiatives, taking some lessons learned, and establishing what our baseline is for future planning. This is proposed as a staff-led project, something that we do leading up to the next 2 steps. And its main deliverable would be a strategic plan assessment report. And our proposed timeline for bringing that forward to council is this September. Then, once we accomplish that, I think we get into 2 of the more exciting pieces. So then we start looking ahead, and we start thinking about what are our strategic priorities for the next 3 to 5 years. And again, that is more like what our immediate organizational needs and priorities are, what are the actions that we need to take, what is the resource allocation that we have, what data do we need to collect so we can measure those outcomes, and we use those priorities to guide our annual budgets as well as our departmental work plans. This is proposed to be led, as I mentioned earlier, concurrently, led by a consultant, and it has several deliverables. So those deliverables, the strategic priorities, the action initiatives, those measurable and data-driven outcomes, so we can keep track of things, aligning with the budget, as well as an implementation and a reporting framework. The timeline that you'll see here is proposed to start this September and then take us up through that next FY28 coming up budget cycle. And then now, the piece that I think I'm most excited about is why beyond 5 years and why 2045? So I don't know if everybody knows this, but the city was incorporated in 1945. So in 2045, College Park will be celebrating 100 years since incorporation. And I think that centennial milestone really gives us an opportunity to think about what kind of city we want to be, how we're growing, how we're evolving, how do we intentionally strengthen our partnerships, what investments we're making that are going to have the longest term impact, and what legacy do we all want to leave for future generations. So this is again proposed as consultant-led, and the deliverable I'm calling College Park 100, a Vision 2045 plan. It's a working title, open to suggestions. The timeline for this one is a little bit longer. So again, kicking off at the same time as the other one, but then extending through November of next year. Why use a consultant? So I think we've heard earlier that our staff has a lot on its plate. So that's one piece of it. A consultant can also offer us specialized expertise in strategic planning, best practices, benchmarking, other communities' processes. It also gives that independent facilitation perspective to really guide the community engagement, which I think is important for the public trust piece of this. And then that ties into the community engagement capacity as well as our communications capacity on this process. This process is going to require a lot of outreach. It is a very important process for the city, and we don't want to skimp on outreach. So I think that by adding a consultant to this, that allows our staff to continue its very busy daily operations, support this process, but have it be led and give it the attention that it deserves. So what does a consultant do? That manages and leads that citywide community engagement and communications support for the engagement. Meeting facilitation, that can include things like council retreats, stakeholder interviews, community forums, surveys. There may be other methods of outreach that are proposed by our consultant as well. And then developing that strategic priorities framework that I mentioned earlier and facilitating, leading the visioning process. Now, this does not mean that staff is out of it. We're not. Staff will remain responsible for implementation as well as project management throughout and the ongoing plan management. Roles and responsibilities, I've already talked here about what the consultant will do. Staff, obviously, I think I've spoken to that as well. I do want to highlight that I think it's important that staff is involved in this too in terms of like giving input to the plan and being involved in the planning process as well, just as much as council and just as much as the community and the stakeholders. Council is obviously an incredibly important stakeholder for this to establish the priorities, to participate all throughout this process, and then ultimately this council will be responsible for reviewing and adopting the final plans. The community and stakeholders, so again, this is going to be heavy on community outreach. We want to hear from our community. We want to hear what their priorities, we want to hear what their vision is for College Park at 100 years. So we're asking folks to participate in these engagement activities. Give us the feedback on priorities and visions and help us identify what issues and opportunities this community has. Proposed timeline, and I will say that this timeline is kind of my best case scenario here. We do need to hire a consultant and work with a consultant on timelines and hear their strategic advice on this, but this is kind of how we sketched it out so far. The things that you'll see highlighted here in yellow are the major deliverables for this plan. So this summer, as I mentioned earlier, staff will be conducting a strategic plan closeout assessment of our past plan. We would also be issuing an RFP for the consultant and working through that selection process that would then come back to council to authorize that contract for the selection in the fall. In the fall, you would see that closeout report. We would kick off this project with the consultant, and that will very likely include something like a council retreat to make sure that council is very involved in this process from the beginning. And then moving into winter, we would be deep in community engagement, stakeholder interviews, visioning activities, so very much working with the community during that time. In spring, it's our hope to align the priorities that we've identified with our budget process, so we can make sure that we are aligning our resources with our priorities. And in the summer, really looking at what that draft Vision 2045 is, with a goal to adopt that in the fall. Once you adopt, of course, it doesn't end. So you see there's a very long horizon there, 2028 to 2045, which is implementing and assessing the plan. And so I think on the next slide, I've kind of set up a framework for how we might do that, just to give some insight into that. So how do we maintain this plan? I think it's something that becomes a part of the lives of the staff and the council here, as well as we want to integrate it with the community. So we're making sure on an annual basis we're aligning with the budget and the work plans with those priorities. We're consistently monitoring progress and reporting outcomes. We're reporting on data. And our departmental work plans are being updated to align with the strategic plans. On an every 2-3 year basis, I think it's very important to intentionally look at doing a council strategic retreat, reviewing the goals and objectives. I think this has to be a living document too, and update that document as needed. And then on every 5-year plan, really looking at those strategic priorities. How are we refreshing them? How are we moving forward? And then putting in those checkpoints at the 10 and 15 year mark, which I know sounds very far ahead, but it's really not. So looking at what that progress assessment looks like as we head towards College Park 100. So tonight, what I'm really looking forward to is hearing your input on a few things. So first off, we would love to hear your input on the proposed framework. So do you support this kind of 3-stage framework, which we have proposed as like looking back by closing out the FY 21 to 25 plan, looking ahead, developing those strategic priorities for the near term, for the next 3 to 5 years, and then looking beyond for a longer term community visioning process. And if you are interested in that longer term community visioning process, the follow-up question is really, should the city centennial be that goal, that planning horizon for our long-term vision? Based on the feedback that we hear tonight, we will refine the project scope. We will develop and issue that RFP this summer, and then we'll begin working on closing out the plan. So with that, I will turn it back over to council, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. What is interesting, you went beyond our traditional 5-year cycle planning process. You went even further, and that's probably because of the centennial milestone we'll be having in 2045. Yeah. Will the consultant be working on both plans simultaneously, or 2 different consultants?
No, it would be one consultant. I think that's definitely the way to do it. That maximizes your time with the consultant, their strategic expertise, and it rolls into one. I would not propose having 2 different consultants.
So when there will be engagement, either through a staff, city council, or the community, those engagement will be for both plans.
Yeah,
both
and we
short term and the long term.
Correct. Yes, and we would work very closely with our consultant to make sure that they're strategically organized to get to, I think, both of those 2 things. So the longer term horizon, the overall visioning, as well as those kind of near term action things within that same meeting. And I think that benefits us too in terms of having these 2 items which are very heavy on community engagement. Sometimes when you're continually going out to your community and asking them, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? That can lead to some fatigue just on the part of your residents. So being able to combine these 2 efforts into one, I think overall benefits both the community as well as us.
Yeah, it's the same person, same resident will be giving input, and residents oftentimes could be thinking short term, but they might have also some kind of dream, ideas, they think further ahead.
Yes.
So it probably makes sense if you go into that both routes. Thank you. All right, I see a couple of, starting with Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I love this report, and I support the idea of doing a 5-year and then the longer plan. I think that that's very important. And I love the community engagement. I think it's really important because this this is people's homes, whether they're 4 years here or whether they're 50 years here. I think it's really important that we have community engagement to give us a vision for the future, and for the short-term future and for the long-term future. I'm looking forward to it. I thought you did a great job with this, and I didn't really have many things to add. I think that the process will help us to hone in on things that have changed from the last time, and just making it very clear to the residents what we're doing. Because, if you don't have a plan, you just, you're going to fail. And so it's really important that we have this plan. So I support this. So I thought I'd start off just telling you that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Councilor Oates.
Also want to thank you for this. As I have reached out, I'm interested in kind of the long-term vision and how what we want to be as the future of College Park, and how we can think about how to make a sticky slogan. I think one question I had on the schedule was related to agreement on the vision part versus the strategic priorities and alignment with the budget. So like knowing that like budget is a driver of a lot of big ideas and big thinking, to what extent will we have discussions on under this proposed timeline, the discussions on Vision 2045, will that not start until summer 2027, or would that be like, I think my proposal would be that like we have the bigger picture outline by the spring 2027 as we're thinking about our budget. So we're aligning our vision, we're aligning our strategic priorities, and then, assuming that this is some longer report that, okay, it takes some time to put meat on the bones of what we're doing. Is that basically what you're proposing?
I think we're definitely aligned in that. I think it does start with the vision, right, and it ties into it. What I didn't want to miss was the opportunity to make sure we had actions that we could tie to the budget, and we did the timing with that. But I agree with you. I think they're very interconnected, but I think you do have to start with the overall kind of mission and vision before, and then you kind of drill down into it. So it will be happening concurrently. I just, in my experience, I think that we will get to a good kind of midway point by the time we're in budget, but I don't think we're going to be at the wrap-up point, which is why I've left additional time at the end.
Yeah, I think time at the end to finish the product, but my hope would be that for council that we would, by the budget point, like our vision can drive our strategic priorities as opposed to developing our priorities and then figuring out why those were our priorities afterwards.
Yeah.
I think thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Jordan?
Yes, thank you for this report. I'm in favor of the framework, the closeout, the strategic plan, and the long-term vision, all as you've laid out. When you're creating the RFP for the consultant, I wanted to bring up, just sort of to highlight that the uniqueness of College Park. So this is this global hub. I mean, just a driver in accumulating knowledge to disseminate to the world, and it's a place to raise a family. It's a place to just to live and be. And so when you're creating the RFP and the things that you're looking for for a consultant, that to keep that in mind, that we're all residents as students and long-term residents, and but also what the university provides, not just that people live here, but also
that makes
that
perfect sense.
Here. Thank you.
Yeah. So I know Councilor Hernandez wants to talk. The consultant will be coming. What Councilor Jordan and I believe Councilor Oates also talked about the opportunities we have about branding College Park, like having a slogan or something like that, and even bringing some logos. And we actually did that exercise about 10, 15 years ago. That was a separate, but totally done by a separate consultant, not as part of the strategic plan.
Yeah,
maybe
I mean, typically branding is, a separate piece of it. I mean, I think that we could certainly look at having that included into this. This kind of slogan, the sticky slogan that we were talking about, I think that ties very much into the vision of it. You're probably getting a little bit deeper into another project as we go into branding, and maybe that's something that branches off from this once that's decided.
Yeah, and there's lots of brainstorming, and in the end we selected the slogan, a smart place to live, but we never used it for some reason. Anyway, Councilman Hernandez, sorry.
Thank you. First off, it's a thing. You guys hear it? Is it like the speaker? Is it that? No. Oh, no. No, I think it's the microphone that's right there. Oh, really? Well, we don't know. We seem to be having some technical difficulties here in Chambers. I suppose it's me. All right. Let me really just say this has taken an incredible amount of work. I know that we started talking about this probably a couple of a little fan maybe. I think a couple of years ago, and it's really refreshing to see how much thought is being put into this. So thank you. I know it's a lot of work. So I'll start off with saying that I'm fully supportive. What's happening? Oh. All right. Well, it's fully supportive of bringing in consultants to help support some of the extra work.
It may be your computer laptop volume.
No.
Oh, it just went away.
Oh. Hello? All right. Somebody's trying to tell me not to talk. Kenny. Yeah, right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. So yes, supportive of bringing in consultants to help out with refining the overall workload. For those people who struggle with the understanding of why we need consultants, I think that it takes a dedicated team that's specialized on this particular effort. Development of strategic priorities and actions for the next 3 to 5 years. I think that's great because I think right now what we're facing is we're operating off of a strategic plan that was built out almost 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So although we're all eager to make sure that this happens, I think real good thought is needed. Of course, we're going to need a lot of community input, and having that dedicated support is definitely going to be super important. A long-term community visioning process. I'm trying to go off of the things that you want from us. The one thing that I want to make sure is threaded in, whether adjacent to the entire effort or as a part of the process, is some sort of strategic communications plan. I think that what the city does very well is it has a lot of programs. We have a lot of different efforts, a lot of different initiatives that staff works on consistently, right? But I believe that we could optimize by refining the entire approach to how we do communications. I say that because there's just such an important element of civic engagement is going to be to understand not just the tools that are available for us, but like the priorities from that communication strategy. So I'm hopeful that we can find some sort of opportunities. I didn't see that in the I think it was the word clouds that were presented. I don't know if it was a word cloud, but it was definitely the various buzzwords that you said.
There are a lot of words.
Yes. So I just want to foot stop as hard as I can the communication, not only to the residents, but just in terms of our overall policy. I'm well aware that there are often a lot of different staff that handle communications for the various projects that we have, and maybe it's framed in an entirely different way. But I think that we should be thinking about how we conduct outreach, how we implement bilingual communication, how we're speaking towards the business community, with an effort to hopefully draw the outcomes that we all want. I want to say it was a council member Oates sent around a vision, which I found incredible. It was well thought out. It was forward looking. We should be thinking about the massive investment that's coming in from the world into College Park as the quantum capital of the world, right? So what are we doing to make sure that we are not only just a willing host, but also an economic driver that brings in those entities and the supporting entities? So I'm hopeful that can be kind of threaded in here. It doesn't need to be specific to quantum. It can be towards technology innovation. And then I would also add an element of trying to, if at the very least, consult with the university. They have a very large planning process when it comes to how they build out. I think it would be helpful for us to conduct that outreach ahead of time. It's something that we're going to work with them as partners, or we're going to be working at odds, and I really rather work with them as partners.
Okay. That's helpful. I appreciate that. I agree with, just to address some of your points, consulting with the university, yes, they're an incredibly important stakeholder, and we would be a fool not to look and see what resources they have. So I agree with you. Regarding the strategic communications plan, so communications, as you know how I feel about it, I think it's incredibly important. I do think that a strategic communications plan is a different effort that involves, looking at our communications, audience analysis. It is a different thing than this plan. I think that communications can absolutely be threaded into this plan, but I don't want to put out the false impression that this will also be a strategic communications plan, because that is a different thing and it's worthy of its own effort.
You have to.
Thank you. See, the muzzling. I entirely agree. I think that maybe it would be worthy to push that for a different effort. I just want to be mindful that everything that we're doing with this strategy has a communication element
absolutely
involved with it. Whether that be what our affordable housing plan is, or our economic development. Everything should have some sort of effort to explain the why back to the residents and to whatever stakeholders are there. Public safety. What does our current crime statistics look like? More than just an insert in the weekly bulletin, right? Yeah. It's sustainability. We have so many different programs and advisory boards. How do we communicate that back and also draw on some of the efforts that have been successful, like LEAD, and our investment into the city streetscape, all of it just threading together to say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think that once, we develop that vision, and then that vision obviously comes with action plans as well as key things that we want to focus on, and each one of those deserves its own communication strategy. So I think we're aligned on that for sure.
Okay, thank you. And if I'll ask my colleagues if we want to do some sort of larger project, but we'll take that offline. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of the university's plan, I believe they have a 10 years plan, 2020 to 2030. Okay. So that might be helpful as well. I know our plan is our plan, but we can always look into what they have as well, so that we can they can be complementary to each other. All right. Who is next? Councilmember Hugh, I believe. Councilmember Ursa?
Yeah, sorry for a second bite. But just on this point, I do think doing more than... I think it's important to understand what the university is doing in terms of their long-term planning, but I also think looking at what opportunities there are for alignment, so more than just kind of talking to them. But the future of College Park is inextricably linked to the future of the University of Maryland College Park, and we should recognize that fact and see how we can work together towards a common vision, so that the university is not pulling in one direction to say, oh, the only thing that matters is quantum, and we're pulling in a different direction, or vice versa. But I think I think they'll be a very important stakeholder in the process, and would be good to chat with them. And again, thank you for your help.
Thank you. Councilor Hill.
Thank you. So when we're looking at our long-term strategic plans going out to 2045, I think that we have a tool that we need to be considering. We belong to the Council of Governments. I belong to several sustainability and environmental groups that also are setting standards for the region, and we should keep the regional goals in mind as well, especially along the lines of environment and sustainability issues.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. I believe those are the comments we have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your leadership and your work. I know it's a lot of work, and more work is coming on the way. Okay, so you're not going away, because next item I can see your name against it.
I'm not allowed to leave.
None of us are leaving. Charter Review Work Group. Last one, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Now we'll get into this next one, which is our Charter Review Work Group. Get into this one. I do want to acknowledge just right off the bat that this was a council initiative. I think it's very much aligned with best practices and governance, so I want to give some shout outs to our council members. I believe it was Councilmember Mitchell who was spearheading this originally, and then of course supported by Councilmember Mackey, so I want to give credit where credit is due as we get into this. I do want to talk through just some kind of basics of how this work group would be set up. First off, what is it? We're proposing it as an internal advisory work group. Keyword is advisory there. That is tasked with reviewing the charter and developing recommendations that will come forward for council consideration. What is the scope of work? So our city charter, I'm sure you've all read it. You probably read it every night before you go to bed. You're looking at those 12 charter articles. I mean, that's what I do, right?
Bedtime story.
Bedtime story. So you're looking at those 12 charter articles. They cover all kinds of things: the governance, elections, personnel, public improvements, finance, and really looking at those. It's been a while since they've been looked at, looking at them for compliance with state law, looking at them, are there outdated references and provisions in there? My guess is that yes, there are. And as well as making sure that we're consistent and aligned with the city's current practices, as well as municipal best practices. So the main deliverable coming out of this work group would be a report that is presented to council with recommended amendments for council's consideration. As far as the composition of this work group goes, again, it's composed of both staff and council members. It's an internal advisory group, and that was being proposed as made up of the mayor, 4 council members, 1 from each district, our city manager or his designee, our city attorney or her designee, our city clerk, and then a staff member subject matter expert, which may vary based on what the needed basis is. And what do I mean by that? So if we're talking about finance chapter, we may want to have our treasurer there for that conversation. If we're talking about personnel, we may want to have our human resources director there. So that position kind of varies depending on what the work group is working on at that particular time. What I have proposed here is a phased work plan, and really looking at this in a phased, in order to kind of help us manage the capacity of this, so allowing to give us time for detailed review, sort of section by section or kind of category by category, while also really trying to keep the workload to this to approximately 1 meeting per month. So kind of thinking about both staff and council's capacity to get this done. So as we look at the phases here, we've broken this down into phase 1, which is really just kind of an overall sort of flagging stage, is kind of how I see it. So looking at all the different articles we have, looking for state law compliance, looking for those outdated references, kind of flagging areas where we think that, I don't know what I'm doing with this. I can try.
Yeah, why don't you try to, yeah, I think this
Do
might
we
be.
have a little clicker thing, guys?
Yeah, there's a clicker.
Oh, okay. Give me the clicker. I'll sit down. Thank you.
It's not you, Jacob.
Okay, you know what? I can just reach over here and tap it. We'll make it work. Okay, guys. Hopefully this doesn't do it to me. All right. So looking at that ambiguous language and then flagging it. Thank you for that. For review, that would be sort of overall phase one. Do some flagging where areas that we'd like to dive into deeper. And then moving on to phase two, which we have set up here, looking at the various articles that you'll see listed there, which is really focused on our elected officials in the charter and governance. So looking at the powers and duties of the mayor and council, looking at elections, looking at our districts and our boundaries, and looking at council meetings and what's in there for that. So that's kind of a beefy section right there. There's a lot in there. Moving through to that, we would move on to legislative procedures. That is very much tied closely with state law, of course, looking at whether we're compliant with the adoption of our ordinances and charter amendments.
Excuse me, Laura, I'm sorry. Have a motion to extend.
Second. All in favor, say aye. We don't need it, right? Oh, the new rules. Oh, here we go. Still living in the old time. No worries.
Okay. Moving on, so then we'd be looking at, after that, personnel and administration, so looking at the charter provisions that relate to our personnel, our city manager, as well as other personnel, and then moving into finance and infrastructure. So there are pieces of our charter that relate to budget, taxes, public improvement, special assessments. And then that would take us to a final phase where we'd have that internal advisory work group develop their recommendations. So looking at all of the recommendations that they've done through the phases I mentioned before, prioritizing those recommendations, and developing a final report that would come back to submission and presentation to the full council as well as members of the public at a meeting just like this. The deliverable, as I mentioned earlier, would be the report to council. Ideally, that report would include what the rationale is for each recommendation and a prioritization on the recommendations as well, because we may come out of this process with a number of recommendations. And I think it's really important for that advisory group to say, okay, this is the number one thing that we've got to accomplish, and here are kind of the subsequent ones we have. Another suggestion here would be to categorize the recommendations. Are they technical, are they administrative, are they compliance, or are they substantive, right? The ones, obviously, that are most meaningful and will require the most amount of public engagement are ones that are substantive. And that takes us to the public engagement process. So I think all of you know that prior to the adoption of any recommended charter amendments, the city has to provide opportunities for public input. At a minimum, a public hearing is required for any change to the charter, but there are certainly opportunities for us to give additional input opportunities. I think that that could really depend on what changes we're talking about. If we're talking about a change to make us just compliant with state law, that probably does not need the same level of public engagement as something that maybe relates to how we do elections or the terms of council members. That is something that is more deep to the core of our governance that would require things like informational meetings, public forums, surveys. Now, I threw that one out there just as an example. Don't get nervous. But just to explain, you know, there could be some substantive things in there. So what you have here is a proposed timeline. So this is really broken down, taking each of those phases and a kind of 1 month chunk. Starting in July, if the council wants to move forward with this, we would establish the work group and appoint the members, have an organizational meeting in August, and then really kick off the work in the fall, which would take us up through early next year with a goal of presenting that report to the full council in March, and then giving council time to absorb and digest those recommendations, as well as doing some initial public engagement. And then summer would really be the time where we look at that list that this council has come up, or the advisory work group has come up with, that prioritized list, and saying, okay, we're going to consider X, Y, and Z first, and moving forward from there. So tonight, just immediate next steps, hoping to receive feedback from council on this proposed work group, and then you'll see sort of the sequencing of events after that. And I'm really glad this stopped ringing on me here, so thank you for that. I think we're all done.
Thank you. Any comments? So I see the council packet, and there is a guidance of kind of high-level guidance, or rather the goal of this charter review committee and what kind of work they'll be doing. The goal is to ensure the charter is in compliance with the applicable municipal law and aligned with best governance practices. I like that kind of guidance. Otherwise, we could probably talk about anything we want.
Yeah, I think we have to be tight on the scope.
Yeah, we need to keep ourselves within the framework. Thank you. All right, I see Mayor Pro Tem Mackey.
Yes, this is a very, I love the report. I think it's very well done, and I support the idea. My colleague has been saying it, I think, from before I was on council, so I'm very glad that this is coming to fruition. I'm just a little worried about the aggressiveness of the timeline. With you just talked about the strategic plan, and then the deputy city manager was talking about the major changes, and so I'm just a little concerned about the timeline.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it is an aggressive timeline, and we certainly do. We absolutely have a lot on our plates. So, I put this forward as sort of best case scenario. I think that we should also, provide this work group with the flexibility to shift and adjust as needed. I don't think you want to have it be, you don't want it to be a work group that lives forever, right? Of course not. So there's got to be like some reasonable stop point on it. But at the same time, I think, internally, and that's one of the benefits of having it be an internal advisory group, you can have some flexibility there.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Ors?
Yeah, I had one, which is so how often do we review the charter? Or do municipalities review
When
charters?
was the last time we did? Councilor Mitchell, can you remember? 10 years? Yeah, last time we did, I think it was a resident committee. Am I correct?
Yes, we had residents and 2 council members and the city attorney a part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say around every 10 years is probably the standard that I've heard, but it can vary from community to community.
So my only question then is, if we are keeping the scope tight to only look at legal part, I would be open to thinking about potential additions as opposed to only amendments. If there are we realize, actually every other municipality has this thing and we don't even talk about that. I think if we're not looking at this except once a decade, I think it's worth including that as part of the scope that, we're looking at legal sufficiency, but if we identify gaps, that there can be things that we would potentially change. Again, not trying to boil the ocean, but I wouldn't want to preclude at the initial stage that at potential additions.
I don't think it wasn't my intention to preclude that. I think if we're in there, we're in there.
Yeah, if you're making changes, you're making changes. Yeah. An amendment to the absence of
addition is a change too, right? All right. Any other comments, Councilor Jordan?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your work on this. It's going to be needed. It sounds like there are a lot of things to clean up, and we always want to be in compliance with state law, and it's good to think about the bigger picture, as Councilmember Oates said. My question is, can you walk me through at what points this will be something like, will these be made public or brought to mayor and council at each of the phases, or only at the final recommendations portion, please?
So the way that I was thinking about it was that it would only come forward as part of the final recommendations. So giving the working group really the time, yes, work on it in phases, but then take sort of that last month or 6 weeks to really compile all the things that we've learned from the different sections into one report that would then be public, rather than doing it, you know, piece by piece. I think as I was thinking through this, I was also in my head thinking about what we're going into with the strategic plan and visioning and how we're going out to the community, and that will also be happening sort of in this like winter time period. So I wanted to keep it to like one really like one major public engagement piece on the actual report.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's all we have. I think you have clear guidance from the council. Let's bring it up. We don't need a resolution to form the committee. Am I correct?
I don't believe so, because it's an internal working group.
Yeah.
I can consult with the city attorney on that and confirm.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So we are done with all the presentations. So we're at the very last item, which is interestingly action item. And now it's 10:30. Actually, more than that, 10:40. And this is about 26G55 approval of the boards and committee reappointments and appointments. And our city clerk, Ms. Allen, do you have any comments before we take a motion?
No, I have no
Okay.
additional comments.
Okay, thank you. I believe we have the list in the packet, and also we have a updated list on with the one additional change to one of the committees. Looks like the council is in agreement. If that is the case, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the appointments as included in the attached list.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Hernandez, seconded by, I believe, Councilor Mayor Pro Tem Mackey. Further comments, Councilor Hernandez?
No, thank you. We greatly appreciate absolutely everyone who applied. And if you weren't considered, we highly encourage you to participate as a part of the boards. Though you may not be a voting member, your input is absolutely welcomed and appreciated. I mean, it's impossible to be able to fill all of these thoughts with all the amazing qualified candidates. So thank you so much for applying, and hope to have a great year.
Yeah, and do echo that. Thank you all who stepped forward to serve College Park. And this is not an easy job. There's lots of volunteering time they need to spend on. If there is no comment, I'll take a. You have a comment?
I just also for anyone who does not receive a spot on one of these commissions or committees, that the process will begin again in December.
Yeah, this is not the last time. And Councilmember Oates, you have a comment? You have a question? That's the next item, right? All right. We are not going to go to the audience to take comments, because that actually happened in the beginning of the meeting. So this is the time to take the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, any abstention, the motion passes. So we are done with the action item, and the very final one is the request for a status of the future agenda items. Is there an application? Probably not. Then I entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Hold on.
Sorry, I did just have a question on future agenda items. I see on consent the renewal of the Acela contract, as we're talking about GoGov. Is that?
Yes, I can explain that. Because of the term in which the Acela contract renewed, and in order to have continuity, we asked to actually have a 6-month contract. They refused. And so we've reduced the number of licenses to what we need, the bare minimum, and then we're renewing for the 1 year, so we have time to go from one to the other. But unfortunately, we have to renew with them because they hold all our data. Does that make sense? I'm sorry.
Interestingly, even though we might not be using them.
I feel like
Well, we'll use them. We'll be using them, in July 1st, which is when it starts again. And so we'll have to use them for a couple months. So.
Perhaps we can share our experience with other Maryland municipalities.
Yes, we will.
MML.
And I think it's all about timing, right? So we have to really next time. We've been working on this for the last few months, but it just got too close.
Thank you for responding.
Thank you for asking.
Appreciate it. All right. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, any abstention? Our council meeting is adjourned. Good night, College Park. So the motion was Council Member